Welcome everybody to the World GT Championship Season 10.
After racing in Kent in the UK, we head halfway around the world for round 9 of the World GT Championship, powered by 3M. And we're coming to you here from Twin Ring Motegi in Japan. Hello everybody, my name is Paul Smith, and for 1 week only, it is the return of Chaz Draycott here in the commentary booth. And Chaz, it's week 9, we're getting towards the final quarter of the season. What a tremendous season it's been so far this year.
Yeah, it's been great. Winners all over the place, podium finishes all over the place in every class. It's been just as close as we expect it to be every single time this championship gets started again. It's a joy to be back. I've been watching all of the broadcasts, I've been catching up with the results and how everybody's getting on, and it's been a real amazing season once again. So many new names at the top as well, but we always get these pro drivers that come in now and then. They really upset the balance from the previous season, and you know, some of these guys think they're going to get it easy. They've got no chance, have they?
Absolutely not, and we'll see that in just a few moments. But let's have a look at how the season has panned out so far here this season. So it is season 10 of the championship. We started off at the end of July at Phillip Island. We headed then to Road Atlanta and Silverstone. Red Bull Ring, the first time that's featured in this championship. Hockenheim, Spa, and then we had that interesting race at Belle Isle in the endurance round. Brands Hatch was last week before, as I say, we're here at Motegi. Suzuka then is going to be our final endurance race in 2 weeks' time, before we then head to Sebring and then Monza for the final round of the championship. Speaking of the championship, here's how the points stand at the moment. In your pro category, it's Kei Kashube who leads that one ahead of Ross McFarlane, the BS competition driver, leading the Pure Sims Esports driver. David Baker, third place for the Pure Sims and Craig Setup Shop outfit. Josh Thompson, Phil Dennis, Matt Turnbull, Aaron Rose, Alex Neller, Jack Sedgwick and Michael Evdoka round out the top 10. Mike Horder for the Boosted Virage team leads your Pro-Am Championship ahead of Max Wolf, the Evo SR driver, finding himself up in that Pro-Am Championship after being moved up from Am partway through the season, and he's competing and competing well. Tim Perry for Three Spires Motorsport rounds out the top 3 with Christian Rose, Chris Van Der Ness, Billy Fletcher, Elliot Harper, Joel Evans, Ben Gregory and Adam Hedgecock round out the top 10 of Pro-Am. In the AM standings, it is Lee Berridge for Boosted Motorsports, who's got a little bit of a lead over Andy Archer, the Century Sim Esports driver. Ryan Hamilton for Nomad Sim Racing in third place, just ahead of Paul Webster and Michael Blake, the two Immortal teammates. Tim Stevens, John Roberts, Toby Ward, Chris Byram and Simon Neller round out the AM standings. And in the Teams Championship, it is the 3M by Williams in XBS competition outfit that leads that one, only by 8 points ahead of Pure Sims Esports. Pure Sims Esports with Craig's Setup Shop, easy for me to say. In third place ahead of Pure Sims SimLab in fourth. Your Pro-Ams then are next. Evo SR having a really strong season, but only 2 points clear of Boosted Virage. BS Competition then find themselves down in seventh place overall, with 3 Aspires Motorsport rounding out the Pro-Am top 3. Lux M24 Esports and Boosted Motorsport round out the top 10 teams. But as I say here, Chaz, we are at Twin Ring Motegi. It is a different track. It's a different style of track compared to what we're seeing week in, week out. We're going to be at night for this opening race in just a few moments' time. How much of a challenge is this circuit out there for these drivers?
It's really interesting, to be honest, Motegi, because it's got a bit of everything. There's a few fast corners and very momentum-based corners. There's a bit of start-stop in the opening sections of the lap as well, and even in the latter stages as well. I mean, the V-turn, I think we said it was called earlier at turn 9, it's almost like a hairpin. It's very, very difficult to get right. There's some slipstreaming sections as well, a few pretty long straights here. It's actually got a bit of everything, like I say. It's difficult to set a car up. And of course, you've got the very notoriously slippery Japanese tarmac, which we all know and love. And combine that with some very, very cool track temperatures at night, it's going to be a real challenge. And then they thought, oh, you know what? We might as well just spice it up a bit. Let's put it in the dark. So they've got a bit of everything to contend with, to be honest. It's very, very treacherous. I think we've both raced here at night before in respective championships. And I mean, I'm sure we'd both agree from first-hand experience, it's not easy at all.
It's not easy, and when you factor in as well that it is a sprint round of this championship, so races 2 and 3 do have the grid inversion as well, which we will decide here on the broadcast. If you've never seen the World GT Championship, after race 1 and after race 2, we will spin a wheel of destiny, to find out how the grid will line up for those respective races 2 and 3. So 3 20-minute races for you. Not a lot of time to make any moves forward on a track that's notoriously difficult to overtake at.
Now, this is going to be a real test of patience tonight for these guys. They're going to have to just be very, very cautious following one another, especially following closely as well. You know how quickly a field can check up in a start-stop section of a track as well, especially like the middle sector that we have here. Once you get through turn 3 and 4, you go down a back straight, and then turn 5 very sharp before you go under the bridge. It really does check up there with people trying moves down the inside, getting held up on the exit. And then with 3 very momentum-based corners that I mentioned before, turns 6, 7, and 8, as you go back up the hill, that's where people try and just filter back into position. And it might get a little bit messy out of there with drivers just pushing the extra little boundary wherever they can. Because let's not forget, at least, that this is not an endurance race tonight. A lot of the time you have a long time in a race to just pick your battles, take a moment to just take a breather. But here tonight, it's frantic sprint racing. And you can guarantee some people will take it easy, some people won't.
Well, we will be getting ourselves ready for the starting grid. In fact, here it is. Phil Dennis and Kei Kashube, 0.004 of a second between them on the front row of the grid, with Alex Davidson, great to see him in the championship, alongside Josh Thompson. Matthew Turnbull and Michael Avdoka, the 2 Pure Sims outfit drivers, share row number 3. Row 4, Ross McFallum on your championship contenders, along with Jack Sedgwick. Elliot Harper and Billy Fletcher share row number 5. They're the top 2 Pro-Am drivers, with Aaron Rose and David Baker row number 6. Row 7 for Ashley Finch and Mike Horder, with Alex Neller and Tim Perry on row number 8. Row 9, JB Masida and Jason Dilworth. Row 10, Ross McNicholson, and then the top am in the qualifying order here is Ryan Hamilton, really good for his championship out in here. Ben Gregory then on row number 11 with Chris Wood. Row 12 for Matt Woodhouse and Simon Underhill. Row 13, Brendan Stacey and Joel Evans, with Tony Draper and Andy Archer on row 14. Row 15 is 2 drivers who know each other well. That's Paul Webster and Miguel Freitas. Row 16 for Pete Harrod. He'll be disappointed with that qualifying here for the pro driver, with Matt Bunn alongside him. Then Lee Berridge and Michael Blake share row number 17. Row 18 for Max Wolf and Bradley Hulse. Row 19, John Roberts, Chris Byram and Adam Hedgecock, Morgan Butler round out 20 rows of the grid. We've still got more with Simon Field and Lars van Rijn, row number 21. Row 22 for your own Kaiser and Craig Jones, with Toby Ward and James Whitehouse sharing row number 23. Row 24 is Nicholas Salaputis and Robert Lundgren. And then the final row of the grid, row number 25, I could tell you, it is Adam Watson and Chris Van Der Ness, who both had a qualifying ban. There you go, there's the grid on the back straight, the Porsche pace car pulling away, and well, Phil Dennis and Kei Kashuba, they know each other very, very well. Alex Davidson, though, he could throw a little bit of a spanner in the works here in that Craig setup shop car there in the Lamborghini that you see in shot. And Josh Thompson, he's desperate for a good result here today. But they're all bunching up here out of the 90-degree corner, turn 11, through turns 12 and 13. Pit entry, you'll see that pace car go off to driver's right. There you go. Final two corners here, and then they'll get on the loud pedal. Turn 14, corner exit, and they're holding them long. Now they're going to go, the green flag will be out in the air, and we're ready for 20 minutes of action here in race number 1 of the evening. Down towards turn number 1. Look at that field, absolutely incredible as they work their way through turn 1 and 2. Can they all manage to get through it all? So far so good. The exit of turn 2 can catch a few people out, has done in the past, myself included. Down into turn 3 then, still 2 by 2, almost going 3 and 4 wide in places further back of the pack. The leaders are getting into a queue. That was Davidson just running a little bit wide out of turn 4. That's given Ross McFarlane a little bit of a look, but no move forthcoming. So head down through turn 5. Underneath the oval here, so far so good here, Chaz, in the opening moments.
I think there might have just been, as a slight jinx, a car around at turn 5 on the way in, but either way, you're absolutely right, to be fair, Paul. It's been a very, very clean start. Everyone is taking it a little bit easy now. They know what the sort of usual pressure is with a night race of the limited visibility, especially for people in VR as well. It can be very, very difficult, very distracting, but everybody doing a smashing job so far. The 3 BMWs at the front getting everything right. And Josh Thompson is indeed a man that's under pressure at the moment to make sure he delivers these results. He's not got a race win this season as Josh. He's got 6 podiums to his name, but he's not won a race outright. And a lot of the drivers ahead of him in the championship have done just that. So he really has this sort of massive weight on his shoulders right now that he needs to shift. But with 2 drivers like Kei Kashuba and Phil Dennis in front of him, it's going to be a difficult ask. Alex Davidson's a certain, well, superstar of the championship so far, really. He's been very, very quick in this Lamborghini. He's in the Craig setup shop livery, which we saw Jake Blackhall and the likes of Morgan Butler using last season. He's tucked right up now behind the big beefy BMW, the low slung, sleek, angry looking Lamborghini Huracan. Certainly a menacing thing to have in your mirror, but there's a little train of them behind Josh right now. But I think these opening laps, especially around a circuit like this, is just going to be about identifying your opportunities, seeing what your weaknesses are and strengths against the car in front.
Yeah, certainly great to see a nice clean start here after last week. A little bit of a debacle, and even the drivers admit that it wasn't that good an evening. Mike Horder, very, very consistent driver in the Pro-Am standings. He finds himself in 13th at the moment, behind Aaron Rose, who's in front of him in that Luxem 24 esports car. And behind him is Ashley Finch for the Pure Sim Lab outfit you can see in his rear monitor. There is Ashley up there on screen, heading in towards the S's then, turn 7, 8. Nice little bit of a part of the track, but you can't really go too wide through there. Can make a little move to the inside, which is what Ashley is looking for at the moment, but it's not forthcoming here. There's a bit of action further down in your pack. You can just see it in the background of your shot. I believe that was Ben Gregory having looks at people. There's the flash of the headlights as well from somebody out there. And so, in fact, it was Ben who was flashing the headlights, and Simon Underhill's hit. Well, he's been hit back round again, which is nice, although I don't think he'll appreciate that. Yep, there you go. There's the flash of the headlights. He's not very happy indeed. But the, John Roberts, I thought we'd gone pretty much okay. Oh, down into the corner. That's a bit of a mess there. Brennan Stacey and car 23, Tony Draper, getting together. Was that a little bit of Tony Draper just coming across when they were 3 wide?
I think maybe he thought they were only 2 wide on the left-hand side of him there, and he just wanted to squeeze him back over to the left-hand side, get the optimal line on the way into the corner. But I mean, you know my feelings of people moving over in a straight line. I'm not going to go on about that too much, but yeah, it was a little bit scrappy there as they came down. I think there was just a little bit of wheel banging as well, which really didn't help out the Lamborghini. Here we go again then. I mean, he doesn't move over so much, but he does make a little tiny dart that way and just spits one Lamborghini into the other, and unfortunately it is the number 27 machine that loses out the most. And Elliot Harper, he was leading the Pro-Ams, he's now going down the order.
Yeah, so Elliot has dropped way down and he finds himself, I'm trying to find him on my timing screen, he's down in 23rd now after an incident that was down at turns 3 and 4. So he's obviously had either after coming together or just carried a little bit too much speed into that corner. We'll find out exactly what's happened here. Down into the corner, little tap from Jack Sedgwick, and around he goes.
That is the tiniest of taps as well, but it's the usual sort of thing you can expect from cars like this. The Ferraris, the Lamborghinis, they all have these very low front noses, and they can just tap the rear splitter, rear diffuser of these cars, and it just lifts them that tiny bit and breaks the traction, and they go around so easily when they've been on the receiving end of such contact. Elliot Harper now continuing on, but he will be very displeased with that one. He's had a good season so far, has Elliot Harper. 3 race wins, 6 podiums in the Pro-Am class. He's certainly a contender, that's for sure. I mean, that's a masterpiece of understatement, really. But the Luxim 24 esports team coming on strong under the watchful eye of Billy Fletcher. And Billy, of course, racing in the championship as well. He's not got a bad record either. He shares Elliot's record of 3 wins in class with 4 podiums this season. Both of them took a win each at Brands Hatch last time out as well. So it's been a good resurgence later on, and there's a car off on the outside. Is that John Roberts that's still out there? I believe it is, isn't it, in the M4?
Yes, it is. He's decided to get out of the way. He did actually take a tour back to the pits, but I mean, that's one way of getting out of the way of the leaders coming through. Just sit around in the kitty litter. Oh no, there's not the space there, so he'll get back up and running. Crucial thing for him though is if he's only 1 lap down. That's the main thing for him.
Yeah, it looked like he was a very long way off though. I'm a bit confused as to what's happened there. He's come out of the pits and instantly lost it. I think maybe just in frustration has let the car roll out of the way. Yeah, like you say, he's just making sure he's not in anybody's way there. It's a shame for John, that, to be honest. It's certainly frustrating when you've had an incident, never mind actually having to come back in and then having another one. Great battle here though for 18th place. Ryan Hamilton in the number 24 machine holding off Jason Dilworth, Ben Gregory and Chris Wood. We're looking at Ryan in the number 24 Nomad machine. Jason Dilworth, another Nomad driver as well, car 28 just behind him. But 2 different classes. Ryan Hamilton in the AM class, I believe, is the head AM at the moment. He is.
One thing I do notice is that the 2 cars, they don't match to the 2 teammates because one's predominantly yellow with green and the other's predominantly green with yellow. So
I'm not the only one.
My OCD is just currently on fire right now. But they've got Ben Gregory behind, who I think he was pretty honest with himself last week and said that he didn't have a good round last week. And at Detroit as well, he was disappointed with what happened at Detroit with his little bit of a dive that caused contact. But yeah, he'll be wanting a good solid result after he's not had the best of seasons. He's been involved in silly little mistakes time and time again, and it's just caused him to have these issues, which has put him further down in the pack and then seems to exacerbate itself into more and more issues. So this is a nice little pack. We've got the 17th place car as well, Ross Nicholson in the Sim Stickers car up in front. And did I just see a car going flying through the shop there? There's a car off in the gravel trap in the background, and it's Simon Underhill. The unluckiest man in the series. He's also he's one of the series admins. He sets up all the sessions for us. And seriously, if he's not involved in some form of contact, then he's had a good race. And it's the Luxim car, Elliot Harper trying to work his way through. Quite literally there.
Yeah, I think Elliot did dive out at the right time, but Simon instantly reacted and tried to just close the line off, but just did it a little bit too much. I think he was probably thinking Elliot was going to go over a bit further, so I think it may be just a misreaction there from Simon, I'm afraid. But you're right. I wouldn't even say Simon's the unluckiest man in the series. I think he's the unluckiest man in sim racing from what I've seen, to be honest. I've never seen Simon have a straightforward evening, I don't think, bless him. And to be honest, it's quite similar. I'm probably going to jinx him now, because every time I commentate on Ross Nicholson, something goes wrong for Ross. I've been commentating on him in Formula 3 cars for a while, and every single race meeting he has an issue. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if he blames me. But Harper now starting his sort of resurgence through the field, hopefully not using the front end of the car so much. But now we look at one of the beautiful Team Mad Porsches. Did a great job with that livery. Yeah, good old veteran, isn't he, Miguel?
Please don't call him old, because if he's old, what's that make me? But he comes out the final corner. Speaking of the front of the car, he's been using his front of his car with the noob remover, the patent pending noob remover there at the front of the vehicle. Down into turn 1 they go, and he is now Bradley Hulls. He had quite the eventful race at Hockenheim. Did a sterling job until right at the very end when there was contact, and he ended up losing out on a top 10 finish, and he was absolutely gutted about that. He's battling with Morgan Butler with the Porsche and the BMW. Morgan runs wide into the grass, which won't help his exit there. But yeah, Bradley Hulls, it's been hot and cold for him as this season. He even has some really good results, or he gets involved in some shenanigans and ends up towards the rear of the field. But he's young, he's only 17, so he's still learning as Simon Underhill. Oh,
let's not look at the front of that too long, Hugo. Oh, that BMW. I've still not made... Oh, hello. Well, there's a Century car.
Adam Watson is the Team Mad car, and the 55 is Andy Archer. It is for Century Sim Esports.
Oh, some sort of coming together up the hill there. I think that might have happened in the first part of the S's there, turn 7, which is the long left, because they seem to be very washed up on the inside of turn 8. Let's see. Oh, massive send. Adams around, just makes a tiny bit of contact, and then just getting caught up in that. Don't tell me that's Michael Blake getting involved in that one as well.
There's one of the Immortal cars anyway. If it's not Blake, then it's going to be Paul Webster. In fact, both of them are running together out there.
Yeah, I'd argue it was Blake, I think.
It was ambitious.
Yeah.
But Josh Thompson's just... I've seen that he's battling with Davidson on the timing tower. I saw them switch over, and they're switching over again. And that's for 3rd and 4th place, and Thompson just staying ahead. But all this fighting is allowing Dennis and Kashube to pull away here. And Ross McFarlane, Matt Turnbull, who I've been impressed with Matt Turnbull in these last 2 seasons of the championship. Feels like years, I tell you.
It does.
I've really been impressed with them, but they're right on the tail of this battle.
Yeah, they're probably just going to let these guys fight in front of them now and just pick up any pieces they can if they get the opportunity to, because really they're on for some strong, solid points right now, and they have that window with a big gap behind them to just, again, identify what opportunities come their way. Just see how the other guys are driving, see if they can maybe make any sort of advantages from one another being held up. Of course, Alex Davidson, while he is in a different team for this championship as such, he's still part of the Pure Sims stable. So really, this is Josh Thompson with 3 Pure Sims cars right behind him right now, as opposed to the 2 that it looks like on the surface. Well, the BMW holding on at the minute, just about though, as the herd of Lamborghinis, the Raging Bulls, makes their way up behind him. I really do love that Williams livery, but even that doesn't make the BMW look pretty, to be honest. Either way, you're absolutely right, Paul. Dennis and Kashube, they'll be loving this right now. The Zebras have fled away from the Bulls at the front, you could say.
Yeah, and Sedgwick has managed to find his way past Michael Evdokup, so the 2 Ferraris have swapped positions. Right now, the brand new Ferrari, the 488 GT3 Evo, brand new to iRacing this last build, so we've had these cars join from round number 7 onwards, and because Jack Sedgwick was the only one who had the previous 488 in this championship, he could make that car change for free because the series admins removed the old car, so he could make that change for free, whereas others, they've had to make that change and incur a points penalty. We're looking at Chris Byram, I do believe, on the right hand side of the screen. Bit of a skirmish between multiple Mercedes, and there's a frustrated Adam Watson trying to work his way around the outside.
Look at the brake discs on that Porsche, glowing bright orange on the back. Shows you how much of a rearward brake bias he's running. As Thompson tries again to defend from Alex Davidson. Alex is throwing everything at this, using different lines through turns 7 and 8. Trying any sort of cutback he can. Goes for a fake little look down the inside. He just needs to fill Josh's mirrors right now, because all that's doing is making sure that this fight stays alive. McFarlane and Turnbull just holding off the back as he looks down the inside again. We've got a car off on the right. That is the 77 machine, Van Rijn. And look at that, Davidson, lovely stuff. Josh gives him loads of room. Fair play to Josh there. Either he went a bit deep or he actually left him a lot of room to make the move, and it was respectful stuff. Let's hope that continues as they go down to turn 11 at the bottom of the hill, which is apparently a 90-degree right-hander. And through, Ross McFarlane takes advantage. Beautiful stuff. That's exactly what he needed to do. Scary moment there for Josh Thompson. Gets a wheel on the grass. And Turnbull can't make it through yet, but that's 2 places very, very quickly there for Josh Thompson. That's going to knock his confidence a bit, Paul.
Ever the opportunity. He's flashing the headlights. But to be fair to Ross, the door was open. It was there for him to stick a nose in, and Josh saw him at the last minute, reacted to it, which is why he had that moment on corner exit. So, I mean, good awareness from Josh to realise that there was a car getting its nose in there into turn 11. And that's what sort of sets the really good, the top drivers in sim racing, the pro drivers versus, say, somebody who is not as well adept to sim racing, somebody like myself who is sat in the commentary box for a reason. But no, it was really good awareness from Josh to realise that there was another car there.
Yeah.
He may not have even liked that move being made, but it was there for the taking.
Yeah, that's it. You know, you can't just let those opportunities pass you by. You have to go down the inside. You have to at least put your nose in and see what happens. And you're absolutely right. Josh did a great job to at least react to it, get the car in a position where Ross was still going to make the corner safely and he didn't compromise his run too much. Sometimes it's worth not defending these things too hard, because you could throw away your entire race. You know, a bit of contact could break some suspension or any component on the car, drop you down the order with getting stuck in the gravel, and it'll be night over. And from that moment on, you know, your night's ruined. It properly gets to your head and all your results are affected from there on out. But now that means that Alex Davidson is in a podium position for now. It would be his first podium of the season. Josh is now further away from getting that first win this season. McFarlane in front of him, of course, reigning champion. He won races at Silverstone and Spa earlier on. Turnbull was a real challenger at the latter end of last season, but he's only got 2 podiums to his name, to be fair, so far. But it's once again just another example of this championship steps the level up every single season. It's not necessarily always new drivers coming in and being right at the front, but just the pedigree of where some of these drivers come from really shines through, doesn't it?
Certainly does. 3 minutes 15 remaining of this race. Phil Dennis and Keg Chouvet are first and second, with Alex Davidson in third place. Your top Pro-Am is Billy Fletcher in 9th place right now, and the second place Pro-Am is Mike Horder in 12th. Tim Perry, 15th, is third place Pro-Am. And the best Am out there is Ryan Hamilton in 20th place. He hasn't lost any places, but hasn't gained any either. The second place Am driver is actually Lee Berridge down in 27th, with Michael Blake, the third placed Am. As we look at this battle, Ben Gregory, Ross Nicholson, so Ben has got past Ross in all of this. Jason Dilworth and Ryan Hamilton, well, they've swapped positions between the two of them, so that's why Ryan hasn't actually gained or lost any positions, but Jason moving forward in all of that, although he's 1 place down on where he started. Ben, he needs to try and get away from these guys, but that's going to be easier said than done. With those raging Lamborghini, Porsche and another Lamborghini behind him right now as they head on down towards the hairpin. We're going to be looking at around about 1 lap to go soon, so time is running out, and Elliot Harper on the recovery drive. The further up the field you go here, Chaz, the harder it gets to move forward.
Yes, it does indeed. That's the number 21 machine there of Pete Harrod down the inside, making sure that Elliot's progress is certainly halted. Pete's having to stay on the inside here as Elliot tries to stick with him. We go on board with the man just in front of them. That's Mark Woodhouse in the very beautiful sounding and beautiful looking Simmortal Porsche. Now Pete Good friends with Mark Woodhouse, of course, trying to have a go at him now. But Pete's in that horrible scenario we'd all hate to be in any sort of motorsport, never mind just sim racing, but you don't want to be attacking while having to defend as well. In the middle of a trio, it's very difficult to get right. Pete Harrod's one of the best people to do it. He's a previous champion of the World GT Championship, but he's going to have his work cut out here, as Mark Woodhouse, we know, can be very, very quick and very consistent. He's great to race against as well, Mark. We've both had some terrific battles with him in the past, haven't we?
I never battle Mark, but that's because he's my teammate. We're heading into the final minute of the race here, so if you're going to make a move, you need to make it rather sharpish, because the leaders are heading round towards turn 9 right now, and these two have just stayed together. They've been glued together all race along, and they've not really made any moves. I think they've been satisfied just to sit here, pick up the results, and this again shows the difference between pro drivers and those who maybe haven't got quite as much experience at a high level. Knowing when to fight for wins, knowing when to maybe settle for a podium, gotta wait for an opportunity to come up with, well, 12 seconds, 10 seconds remaining. This is going to be tight actually as to whether we do get another lap. But I think as the leader comes through victory corner, it's going to see the checkered flag for Phil Dennis once again. Tremendous result here in the opening race of the evening in the World GT Championship.
Yeah, Phil Dennis now has double the wins of anybody else this season. That's his 6th time on the top step. The next one back is Jack Sedgwick with 3 wins. Amazing stuff by Phil Dennis. He won at Road Atlanta, Red Bull Ring, Hockenheim, Brands Hatch, and now here at Twin Ring Motegi. It is awesome to see the fireworks go off for the first of 3 races this evening. Not too much battling going on near the front there, Paul, but as it's the first race of the night, I think a lot of that was all just about banking the points, wasn't it, really, to make sure that they can then go a little bit harder maybe in the latter races of the evening.
Absolutely. Drivers still coming across the line. James Whitehouse is about to reach the line. He's involved in the battle with Adam Hedgecock, Brendan Stacey, and also Chris Van Der Ness, as they come across the line right now. So a 50-car field, you've got to wait a long time for drivers to make it to the end here. It's such a big, big field. It is tremendous to see that. And, well, your 2 leaders, your 2 race winner in 1st and 2nd place, find their way around. But right now, it's time to draw the reverse grid spot for the 2nd race of the evening. So Hugo, if you could do the honours, please. Hugo Luis behind the scenes on production here today, as always with the World GT Championship this season. As we go down, oh, please stop right now. This would be tremendous if this stops right now, which it does. That little World GTC logo right there means we get a full reverse grid. Any driver finishing either on the lead lap, and I do believe it's 1 lap down as well, it's a full reverse for them. So if it's 1 lap down, John Roberts would be on pole position in 49th.
After a nightmare race as well. After
yes.
A nightmare of a race.
So let's give you your race results. Good luck, everybody. This is going to be fun. Let's give you your race results then for race number 2. So Phil Dennis wins this one for the 3M by Williams NXBS competition team, with Keiko Shube 2nd place for them. Alexander Davidson, what a drive from him to end up hustling his car into 3rd place and holding on to that position ahead of Josh Thompson. Matthew Turnbull, 6th place in the end, ahead of Jack Sedgwick. Michael Avdoka in 8th place. Your top Pro-Am driver, Billy Fletcher, 9th place for the Luxim 24 Esports outfit. David Baker rounds out the top 10. Aaron Rose then 11th, ahead of Mike Horder, who finished 2nd in Pro-Am for Boosted Virage. Ashler Finch in 13th, and Tim Perry in that Three Spires Motorsport outfit finishes 3rd place in Pro-Am. JB Masida, Alex Neller, Ben Gregory, Ross Nicholson and Jason Dilworth finishes down in 19th, with Ryan Hamilton for Nomad Sim Racing, your top AM driver. Normally he'd be happy with that result. I don't think he's going to be happy with that reverse grid. Chris Wood ahead of Mark Woodhouse with Pete Harrod in 23rd. Elliot Harper had to do a recovery drive. He's in 24th place. Joel Evans then in 25th ahead of your 2nd placed AM driver. In 26th is Lee Berridge for Boosted Motorsport. Matt Bunn and Miguel Freitas the next 2, and Michael Blake for Samorthal 29th ahead of his teammate Paul Webster in 30th. Morgan Butler then 31st with Bradley Hulse in 32nd. Euron Kaiser 33rd ahead of Max Wolf, Simon Field, Adam Watson, Tony Draper, James Whitehouse, Adam Hedgecock and Brendan Stacey round up the top 40. Still more results to come. Chris Van Der Ness ahead of Craig Jones, Robert Lundgren, Toby Ward, Lars Van Rijn, Andy Archer, Nick Salaputis, Chris Byram, and then John Roberts. If it is, I would ask Chaz if he can check that in the rule book, if it is 1 lap down or not, because if it's not 1 lap and it's just the lead lap, it'll be Chris Byram. If it is 1 lap down, it will be John Roberts on pole position. And Simon Underhill did not finish that race. 6 laps down, he finished up on pit road. But well, that was not the most action, but we didn't expect that really around this track here today, because really it's not a track that is known for its overtaking as Twin Rim Motegi. No. The one of the official series was here just a week or 2 ago as well, and I was talking to a few of the drivers. They were saying that there was very little overtaking happen in those races as well. So it's a track that's very difficult to overtake at, and we've just had a full reverse grid draw. I mean, how much chaos is going to happen in this next race?
You're going to get a number of very impatient drivers in this second one. I'm going to tell you that for free, because these guys are going to be very, very annoyed at being that far down the order. They're not necessarily going to be behind technically much slower drivers, because when the whole field is turned around, you don't get these, well, the drivers that we're looking at here, you know, Phil Dennis and Kei Kashube. These guys aren't going to be at the back with all of the AMs. They're going to be at the back with all the pros, who are then going to try and come through the pro-AMs, who are then going to try and go through the AMs. So it's actually less of a contrast of pace between all of them when they're trying to make their way through like this. So it could be one way than the other with this. There could be some drivers that get themselves into a bit of a mess, but I think the ones that are patient are the ones that are going to benefit from this, own the overall evening, the way that it works.
Yes, certainly. So we are waiting for the next race of the evening to come up, and yeah, it's certainly going to be an interesting one, as we will welcome you back to the commentary booth here. Paul Smith and Chaz Draycott here on the call today. Hugo Lewis is behind the scenes in production for us today, who's drawn a magnificent full reverse grid. We were waiting for that to happen at some point of the season, and I bet Peter Mackay is absolutely kicking himself for missing that.
Oh, it will be. It's just typical. When I turn up, it all goes to pot, doesn't it, really? But either way, it's going to be fantastic to see. Even last season when we had it, I don't think we actually got one last season when we were commentating the whole season together. So great to finally witness one at least. But yeah, what a track to have it at as well, though, because like I said then, this could go either way. This could be absolute mayhem with people being impatient, or we could have a really good show of self-restraint by some of these drivers and a nice clean race with some great action in it. So bring it on, I say. This is going to be a belter.
But what the full reverse grid does, and what any inverted grid does, is give an opportunity to those who maybe wouldn't normally find themselves at the front of the field.
Yes.
And it gives them that little bit of experience as well, doesn't it, of leading a race or being in the front 5 or so. I mean, how beneficial is it to those who maybe haven't got the overall pace to have that experience up at the front?
It's great for your championship if you can hold it together, but it is good to have that experience, even if it doesn't come off properly. You know, there's a lot of drivers, I mean, from my experience of very little experience of being at the front of a field, there's just this new level of nerves when you're right at the front of a pack if you're not normally there. and it can get to you, and you can absolutely bottle it, to be honest. I do that quite often. But really, to have that experience of doing it in such a competitive field as well, when, like you say, you wouldn't normally qualify up there and be up there on merit, it's worth having, just so you get an idea of how the nerves feel, how you sort of compose yourself, or how you try to, at least, as the race goes on. So it's very valuable to the drivers and the championship if they hold it together. But I think it's just a case of controlling the nerves and seeing how quickly the guys come through behind, to be honest.
I mean, personally, from when I was driving, some of my best results did come from a full reverse grid result, and it just, as you say there, it does bring a new level of nerves. I know my first ever win in a league championship was really you because you've never done it before. You're there getting a bit excited behind the wheel, and then it's sort of like, oh my goodness, I could bin this at any time. And so suddenly you're scared of actually doing anything behind the wheel, and you just get in your own head. You've got to keep cool, you've got to keep a nice sort of calm breathing, and also remember to breathe as well, because a few drivers, they get up at the front and it's just that, nope.
Yeah, you just go stiff.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, thinking back to it, you actually commentated on my first league race win back in the Kia Club Series days at Brands Hatch. And that was a race that was me near the front on a reverse grid. I think it was 4th or 5th, leading by turn 2 after the others went off in front of me. And then all the way through the race, I think I remember it being, I think it might have even been Tom Stanley that was chasing me down, with people like Maciej Sakovic, Pete Harrod, Ben Palmer. There was a big group of them chasing me down. They all started fighting with 2 laps to go when they were right behind me. And then the gap opened up, and I eventually just about won the race by about, I think, 3/10 or something ridiculous. But, you know, when you've got those nerves up front, I wasn't pushing the car to the limit. I wasn't going as quick as I had earlier on in the race, because my head was saying, there's a chance you could do this, Chaz. You might actually win this race. And you sort of go, oh, I don't want to break that late. I don't want to turn in that much. And, you know, you just look after the car and you take it easy. I was lucky that a teammate at the time, Ben Gregory, was in front of me giving me slipstream. Let's not beat you around the bush. But, you know, it was certainly a very, very scary moment. And I've had a few races where I've led recently, and I still get it now. No matter what level you're at, if you're in the lead of a race, you know that the one person that's going to bottle it and get it wrong is you, because you're not trying to overtake somebody. You're not trying to base what you're doing on the car in front. You're the one leading the way with everyone else watching you behind and everyone watching you on the broadcast. If you get it wrong, that's it. There's big pressure on it. So some of these AMs are going to have some good experiences with this, I think.
Yeah, get the clip button ready on YouTube here tonight, yes, because you're going to get plenty of use of it. But, second race of the evening, we were meant to be having it at sunset, although we've seen how early in the evening sunset is, because that race was meant to be late afternoon. Yeah. But anyway, these drivers could have some different situations, different conditions out there as well for them. I mean, how do you adapt yourself and adapt your setup to that 10-minute window that you've got to be able to just get some laps in?
It's very, very difficult, because a lot of these guys, a lot of the really top guys will go out, do 2 laps, and they'll feel a difference in the car straight away. You know, some of the teams that have lesser experience with that, or they don't go into the data as much, they won't know exactly what will make such a big difference in that time. Tyres aren't going to be really an issue here, because of the lower temperatures, obviously, with it being at night. They can just rag the tyres all the way through. And I think that's kind of why the first race was so close and we didn't see so many moves. You know, people weren't killing the tyres into the last few minutes of the race. Tyres weren't really going off a cliff or anything like that. So I don't think setup is going to be something they're going to worry about too much right now. Maybe just the odd tweak to just get the nose in a little bit more, or maybe just settle the back down. I think it'll more come down to the drivers making adjustments to things like your brake bias over the course of the race, just to get a little bit more comfortable, because it's not a track really where you can get into a rhythm here. There's a lot of corners that you have to push the car in, and it can go very, very wrong indeed. And, you know, you could lose half a second by just getting one corner wrong around here. And, well, there's a lot of them, as we've both seen.
Now, imagine yourself in the shoes of Kekashuba and Phil Dennis right now. You've just won the race by a second and a half at the front. You're now finding yourself at the very rear of the grid. You've not had to do that in this championship all season. Okay, they've had the reverse grids where they've had to move through from like 30th or something like that. Yeah. But this is a big grid here today. 50 cars on the grid. how much of a challenge that they're not really used to experiencing, because they're used to being out at the front and driving away from everybody. Yeah. How much of a challenge is it going to be to those two to have to change how they drive?
I think the main mentality they're going to go into this with is the idea that there is going to have something happen in front of them. A lot of these drivers, we've seen it before where we have reverse grid races, they go into it and they don't go for moves, they don't try and put the car in a risky position, they'll just wait and see what happens in front of them. I think that's what they've got to do this time around.
They certainly do. Well, the drivers are out just currently rotating, doing a little bit of warm-up and practice out here. Of course, second race of the evening for you, so we'll be getting you pictures from that. You won't miss a thing here on RaceSpotTV. Now, Chaz, I don't know if you're aware, but this year and this autumn, Pure Sim, my goodness, it's one of those days today. It really is. 3M, who support this series, have brought out a brand new product, haven't they?
They have indeed, yes. They have the Sim 21 3M gloves. They are absolutely wonderful bits of kit. Just like the other 3M products, they are 100% made in Italy. You have L-grip fabrics, which cover the entire palm, so you get really, really good grip on your steering wheels. They're obviously purpose-built for sim racing. And just in case, like I famously did once at Spa-Francorchamps, you want to use your phone while you're sim racing, which I'm not going to tell you now is a good idea, trust me. You have on the fingertip and on the thumb, you have basically a fabric that is compatible with touchscreens, so you can use them there. I do not advise you to do that while you're racing.
No,
anyone that knows me will know that story. But yeah, they are a really good development on the Sim 20 glove, which 3M brought out last year. They've just come out as well, so make sure you go to 3m.co.uk and you can get yours if you fancy the look of them.
You've forgotten the most important piece of this sim racing equipment. Breathable fabric, so you don't end up with hot hands during the sim racing, so you don't end up with sweaty fingers.
Yes,
throughout your racing.
It's a horrible thing to have during the racing. To be fair, my gloves are absolutely knackered, so I might have to get a pair of them right now, to be honest with you. But yeah, Sim 21 gloves from 3M, fantastic bit of kit, great development on the previous glove, and well, it's certainly something you should get your hands on, or hands in, I should say. So go get them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much to 3M for supporting this series, because they've been a long time supporter now of the series, haven't they? They've been involved for quite a while now, and it's great to see that a company like that seeing the value in sim racing and putting something back into sim racing there.
Yeah, definitely. You know, there's a massive market for it, much like we have with real world motorsport. There's so many companies making these just different sort of tools that you can go racing with, and different things to make your life easier and sometimes more difficult but more complicated and so on. You know, there's an absolute plethora of things that go into real motorsport that can be reflected in the sim racing world. We've seen that more and more as time has gone on, and 3M have done a great job of it and injecting some real passion into it as well. And Jonathan Walker, that we see in this series, and as part of the Pure Sim squad especially, he's a top bloke, and he's got a fantastic line of equipment and different gloves and so on behind him.
Well, it's worth... we've not mentioned it really all season long, but there are prizes for the champions and for the top three in various different parts of the championship. So all the podium finishers in the championship for Pro-Am and Am, as well as the first place Pro and Pro-Am teams, all get trophies from the league admins, but also from 3M, the first place pro driver gets custom S19 boots or Senso 16 gloves with the team logo on, which the boots, we saw Marina Sarika's boots, he shared a picture of those. They look absolutely stunning to those. Second place and third place pro drivers get sim gloves. The first place Pro-Am driver gets Senso 16 gloves with team logos, and again, sim gloves for second place and third place Pro-Am. And then first place Am gets Senso 16 gloves with team logo on as well. Second place and third place Am drivers get sim gloves as well. And the Enduro Cup winner as well, don't forget that there is the Enduro Cup to be decided, will get a £40 store credit for 3M, and they will also receive a model of the model replica of the winning car from Simmortal, who are another one of the series supporters for the Enduro Cup winner. So quite a lot of prizes at stake in this championship.
Yeah, and it's more proof that goes to show that it's not just people just whacking a logo on a series, on a broadcast and whatever else, just to sort of make it look fancy or make it look like more attractive to people coming in. You know, they don't do it to show off. It's a genuine partnership with real prizes up for grabs, and it's fantastic to see these sorts of, they're almost like business deals being done within sim racing. Everybody takes it so seriously now, and it's a fantastic thing to see. And it's great that we do get these physical products and brilliant brands coming on board with it. It's great.
Absolutely. Well, we managed to fill the time nicely here, so we'll get you to your starting grid for race number 2 of the evening here, and we'll get that up on screen right now. And it is John Roberts then on pole position, with Chris Byram sharing that front row, Andy Archer and Lars Van Rijn in row number 2, with Toby Ward and Robert Lundgren row number 3. Row 4 for Craig Jones and Chris Van der Ness, Brendan Stacey and Adam Hedgecock then for number 5, with row 6 James Whitehouse and Tony Draper. Row 7 for Adam Watson, that could be a good shout for a win there. Alongside him is Simon Field, with Max Wolf and Jeroen Kaiser on row number 8. Row number 9 is Bradley Hulse and Morgan Butler. Row number 10 for Paul Webster and Michael Blake, the two Mortal teammates, with Miguel Freitas and also with Matt Bunn in row number 11, row 12 for Lee Berridge and for Joel Evans as well. And I do believe, actually, we have got a bit of a problem with the server right now, because nobody is coming up in the session, and in fact we have got a problem because the safety car is pulling away. So what we're going to do is just step back into the commentary booth here, because we're having to there was a problem, apparently, we've just seen right now. Well, we've seen right now because there was nobody taking the start. It was like the Hungara ring this year in Formula 1, with Lewis Hamilton being the only car on the grid. But yeah, a little bit of a problem, as you could well see there. So we're going to have to wait just a little bit longer for that full reverse grid race.
It's building the suspense. That's all it's doing. I racing and watching somewhere. I bet Drew's up in the sky. He's watching and he's going, these lot want a reverse grid. Watch this. Just shut that server down. Let's make them wait for it. But no, to be honest, it's just typical curse, isn't it? Really, you know, we get the first reverse grid. I come back and it all goes to pot. I told you. That's what happens. Poor Hugo's sat in the background now, tearing his hair out, thinking, God, I hope these boys can fill time for a bit. But me and Paul could both talk for England, so you know that for free. Either way, just to reflect again on that first race, you know, while not too much happened, I think it was kind of a good thing for most of the drivers. You know, there was a few little incidents here and there. There's a bit of contact, but that was just part of hard racing. You know, you're always going to get those moves, no matter how many overtakes there are. There's not like an average of incidents per overtake in a race. But everybody just seemed to be playing it safe to me. They probably just thought, oh, Chaz is watching. Let's just show him that we've changed. But they just took it easy, because points are so important in this championship. You saw earlier with how close the standings are. You know, some of the teams' championships, there's barely even 10 points between them, and they've got over 2,000 points, and it's still that close. And every single position that these drivers gain or lose could be the resulting either gain or loss in a championship position when it's all over a few months down the line.
I'm just having a look through here and just seeing what the drivers have been saying. Actually, not a lot been going on with the drivers. So yeah, apparently there was an incorrect grid put up. So yes, blame Chaz and his LED lights. There you go. It's all your fault. Oh, right. Okay. Well, it's easy to blame you.
Put them red in anger, shall I? There you go.
But yeah, to be honest, there's not actually been a lot of chatter amongst the drivers, really. Here in this after this first race, mainly because, well,
bit of a Mexican standoff.
There wasn't really. I mean, to be fair to them, after last week at Brands Hatch, where we had 2 safety cars in 2 races, to get 50 cars through the opening lap without any incident causing a safety car, and to only have the odd 1 or 2 incidents throughout the grid, actually showed that the drivers, they've got a bit more room around here, which will help. Yeah. With it being a slightly wider track, but overall, the driving standards were really good in that first race.
Yeah, they're probably just sitting back, just going, "Don't say anything," but that was really good. Like, Matt Bunn's just sitting there, like, absolutely loving it, watching over it all, just thinking, well done. Let's do more of that, please. But no, in fairness, this is still a very difficult track to get right. It's one of those real old school circuits that's very unforgiving. There's no massive runoff anywhere. There's just grass and walls, and that's my favourite type of circuit, if you ask me, because places in the UK that we have, like Brands Hatch where we were last time, Alton Park, places like Cadwell even around here in the UK. If you've never heard of Cadwell Park before, go and look it up. It's the last section. I can't believe it still exists. But it's just circuits like that that really demand the best from drivers. And I think we saw a massive field of nearly 50 cars in that one absolutely dial it in, and they performed really, really well. It was great to watch. So more of that, please, but maybe a little bit more overtaking.
Give us something to talk about. Oh, there's plenty to talk about in that first race. To be fair, everyone was really close together. Okay, you get a bit of a field spread because it is quite a long track here, or it's quite a long lap time, should I say.
Yes.
4.8 kilometres, 14 turns here in this one. You go underneath the oval track twice here as well. So it's a really... normally with an oval track, you normally have an incorporation with that oval, but here it is its own separate track, which is quite unique really in the world of motorsport. Yeah,
it is. It's amazing. I mean, even on the track map, it's not even a symmetrical oval. One corner is a lot tighter than the other. I actually, really going off on a slight tangent here, I actually remember first ever seeing the twin ring Motegi in iRacing with an oval race with the Kia. Now, that was, I think, 2015. I
was probably racing in that.
You were in that, and I remember a certain Ray Alfala was in that race as well, in the good old BSR-TC, and that feels like forever ago now. But yeah, like you say, massive banked oval, but the track goes underneath it in both places where it usually meets. When, often you get a terrible infield section and then some massive half an oval and it's all slipstreaming. But it's great that Motegi, it involves one of the best racing circuits in the world, if you ask me, and an oval, and they don't sort of take anything away from one another, do they? Add some bridges in and it looks pretty.
You can see the countdown clock in the top left-hand side of your screen. We've just got under 3 minutes until the race starts, so we are getting there. Technical problems can happen with race servers in sim racing. It's no different to having to delay the start of a race because of a red flag in a previous race, having to fix barrier damage, for example. This is the equivalent of having a little bit of a delay like you do get in the real world of racing. Much like when somebody disconnects from, their internet packs up or whatever and they disconnect from the middle of a race. That's the equivalent of a mechanical failure which ends your race in real-world motorsport.
Yeah.
There's similarities, but there's also differences in sim racing.
Yeah, one of the main differences for me right now that I'm very grateful for is I'm sat in this lovely warm office, whereas 3 weeks ago I was commentating at Silverstone and we had an unbelievable downpour and a car aquaplane straight on. It was on the national circuit. A car aquaplane straight on at Maggots and Beckett's and T-boned another car right in front of me, and then they were trying to get rid of standing water, and we were there for an hour and a half in the pouring rain with no racing going on, while me and poor Ian Titchmarsh had to listen to my voice for an hour and a half as we tried to just make sense of what was going on. And everyone stayed in good spirits, but it happens in sim racing and it happens in the real world as well. So it's a direct comparison, and it is, to be fair, even more reason to show that the simulation's spot on. It doesn't always go right, does it?
I can go to BMW Sim Live in 2019 out in Munich. Myself and Connery had to fill time for 40 minutes, and it basically turned into the Paul and Connery podcast. Did that, where we discussed about sim racing and about manufacturers' involvement, of course. Obviously, for an event at BMW Welt, you kind of keep it with BMW. You don't go into any other manufacturer territory. Yeah. But we made that discussion. We kept the topic going, and people really, really appreciated that. Afterwards, when we finished the show, we came down from our commentary box on the staircase. Don't ask, and people were giving us a round of applause. It's like, I'm not used to that.
Yeah, that's true. It's true, but that's the thing, as part of our job as commentators is the fact that we have to fill space sometimes, and it's nice to have a good chinwag, to be fair. It feels like forever since I was last on here, if I'm honest with you, to be honest. It's just crazy. But either way, it's great to see this championship still going strong. Fantastic grids, fantastic broadcast as ever, and the countdown timer is now gone, which means we should be right back into it.
Yeah, just a few more seconds, and then we'll finally be able to give you your grid again, and be able to have me fire through that one. I'm sure the admins just did it just to hear me fire through a grid, 50-car grid in about a minute. It's not a lot of time to be able to get through a grid, that's for sure, but we'll give it our best. Anyway, we are now into the race session, so that means we'll be able to finally give you the starting grid for this race. He says. There we go. It is John Roberts who's on pole position. As we said before, with Chris Byram second place, Nick Salapurtis, Andy Archer third and fourth, ahead of Lars Van Rijn and Toby Ward on row number 3. Row number 4 for Robert Lundgren and Craig Jones, with Chris Van Den Ness and Brendan Stacey. Row number 5. Row 6 for Adam Hedgecock and James Whitehouse. Row 7, Tony Draper and Adam Watson, who I still think is a dark horse for this race. Row number 8 is Simon Field and Max Wolf, with Jeroen Kaiser and Bradley Hulse on row number 9. Row 10 for Morgan Butler and Paul Webster, with Michael Blake and Miguel Freitas on row number 11. Row 12 for Matt Bunn and Lee Berridge. Row number 13 for Joel Evans and Elliot Harper, Pete Harrod and Matt Woodhouse on row number 14, with Chris Wood, Ryan Hamilton on the next row of the grid. The drivers are pulling away, so Jason Dilworth, Ross Nicholson, Ben Gregory, Alex Neller, JB Masida and Tim Perry in 36th, Ashley Finch, Mike Horder, Aaron Rose, David Baker, Billy Fletcher and Michael Evdoka on row number whatever it is. Jack Sedgwick, Matt Turnbull, Josh Thompson, Ross McFarlane, Alexander Davidson, Kay Kashube, and then the final row of the grid is Phil Dennis and Simon Underhill, and we get that done right as the drivers are coming into the penultimate corner. The pace car is pulling off into the pit stop. So, here we go. Drivers pulling away already. It's an early start then for your pole sitter. Away we go. And what a launch off the start for John Roberts. He wanted to try and get that one early. He wanted to try and pull a gap as best as he could. Now, can we have a lap 1 like we had in race number 1 of the evening through turns 1 and 2? Everybody's behaving so far. And now down 3 and 4, and there's Kunz getting flung outside. We've got cars in the middle of a pack, and we've got a spinner off, and it's Robert Lundgren is off in the gravel trap. You see him in the background of the shot there just momentarily. Got a car going off to the side there, and that's one of the mad cars. There's Aaron Rose has gone off at the back of the exit of turn number 4. A few drivers getting back to track, but we are still green. We are still racing here underneath the oval, down towards or up towards the S's here. A little bit more chaos there in the opening half of a lap here, Chaz, but you would expect that with a full reverse grid.
Yeah, one of the main things that you're going to see here in this opening lap is some of the quicker drivers that are coming through. They're used to braking later than the cars in front of them. There's cars off already. There's another Porsche around. There's one of the 3M cars around. That's not Matt Spun, is it? I think it is. Another car gets spat off to the left as well. BMW, there's cars bouncing around all over the circuit in front of each other, going one way, then the other. Oh, it's just one massive big domino effect right now. I think there was contact actually between a number of cars already at turn 9 at the very front of the field. You know, there was a few of them already off. There's cars crabbing all over the place as they try and recover and avoid each other as well. I think Michael Blake was one of the guys initially involved in that. We've got Michael Evdoka, Lars Van Rijn, Andy Archer already back. Matt Bunn has dropped down a lot as well, so it was Matt Spun. Josh Thompson is showing as sort of disappeared apparently right now, but back up near the front, it's Salapurtis is going one way, then the other. Van Den Ness trying to look for any tiny gap down the inside. It was like the Mercedes Cup at the front, though, to begin with. The big burly V8's making a lot of noise. But like I was saying, though, Paul, it's just some of the quicker guys, they're used to braking a bit later, and they just, for some reason, I don't know, not to rip them to bits, but they just don't adapt to knowing there's a slower car in front, and Salapurtis has salabinned it.
Oh, off to one side. He got a wheel on the grass. Josh Thompson has retired from the race, I can tell you as well. And Salapurtis trying to return to the track, but with a big field like this, you need to find a gap in the traffic. Meanwhile, further up your field, we've still got battling going on. Tony Draper, that was, making the move on Tony Ward. Tony Draper on Toby Ward, should I say. Get my teeth back in there, Paul. Adam Watson trying to run around the outside of Ward. That'll give him the inside for the next corner as well. There you see them together, and Watson does make it ahead, as now Ward having to fend off Morgan Butler, that is, working his way past in the BMW. So Watson and Butler, they could be in with a good shout of a race win here. Worth pointing out, Kei Koshube already up to 23rd at the end of lap 1, halfway through lap 2.
That's an absolutely belting performance by Kei Koshube early on, but like I said, they go into these first laps and they just accept the fact that something may happen in front of them. They prepare for it. They just hesitate for the first half a lap, get any chaos out of the way, and that's when they put their foot down. They catch people off guard. When they're vulnerable and all just sort of waiting around thinking the same thing, like, oh no, there's going to be an accident, that's when they pounce, and they really can just do people over, if I'm honest with you. That was the 81 car there of Max Wolf going a little bit slowly. You'd think he'd do well when the moon comes out at night, but no, it seems not, I'm afraid. They all bobble their way down towards us at turn 1, looking at the gorgeous number 26 machine of Simon Field. Simon's been back with us in the championship for a few seasons now, but it's great to still see Boosted and Team Mad Cars still going at it, hammering tongue all these years later, Paul.
As we head on down towards turn number 4, there's a dive and a half there from Chris Wood to the inside, and he'll say thank you very much, I'll take that position. And so up he goes then, and with fastest laps are coming in thick and fast as we're going across the line. Tim Perry, the fastest lap so far in this race, but it's chaos, it's brilliant racing. Oh, we've got a car off there. That's Ryan Hamilton. Oh, the man who won the amateur category in race number 1. He's dropping down the order to 25th, and that is behind Jeroen Kaiser or Ross McFarlane, of course, our previous champion, trying to work his way past as well.
Yeah, a bit of a mess there going on for Ryan Hamilton, but he recovered pretty quickly, to be honest. You can see the LED numbers on the windscreen, for anybody who doesn't know, tells you their position last time they crossed the line, so he's not lost too many places at this point. Just coming back to that great send, though, by Chris Wood earlier on. That was great to watch. Really chucked it down the inside nice and late. Hamilton's trying to hold on here ahead of Ross McFarlane, but that soon deteriorates and Ross is back through. He's having quite the recovery as well as he goes up through the field. Started this lap in 28th place. He's overtaken a number of cars. Underhill there looming in the very ugly BMW. That is the number 70 car now, Bradley Hulse, near the front of the field, just making his way through. I think there was a Mercedes that got caught up there. There seems to be some connection issues for it, and they got tangled up, because at the end of the day, the best way to race against somebody like that, to be fair, is just race your line. Just assume they're there, but if there is contact, there's not much you can do. Now, Morgan Butler has just got the fastest lap of the race. Go on, Sunshine.
I would just hold that thought for a moment whilst there is more battling. Adam Watson has just gone ahead of Jones. We've got a yellow flag in turn number 2. Car is back moving again, and now we've got a yellow flag in turn number 3 as well. And I can tell you, Simon Field, who is off in the gravel trap, there he is, and there you go, Billy Fletcher now got the fastest lap. Now Phil Dennis. So Dennis is one of those drivers who I do think got caught up in lap 1, I do believe. He is Simon Field, and he just carried too much speed into turn 3.
I think there's something ironic about the fact that Simon Field didn't end up in the grass, to be fair. Alex Davidson has now done the fastest lap of the race, so I gave Morgan his moment in the spotlight, but Alex has gone and crushed that completely. It was a few seconds quicker. Oh no, crushed something else. It's the front of Ben Gregory's Lamborghini. And
that was a Immortal car with him as well. Here we go, side by side. Is that going to be Paul Webster? Gets on the grass, loses control. Around they go. I don't know who the Immortal car was. I think it was Paul Webster. I'm not 100. No, it was Matt Woodhouse. It was who made that contact there. And nice pirouette. And just unfortunately, both cars went off there.
Yeah, I think, to be fair, Mark was doing that with all good intentions. You know, he tried to stay as far as he could to the inside of the circuit, but just dipped that inside wheel onto the grass and it over-rotated the car. He managed to save it, but in flicking the car left, he just tapped Ben Gregory, and at high speed like that, it's not going to end well. This is Kei Koshube, the number 16 BMW, trying to get the better right now of the Lamborghini in front of him, which is Alex Neller. Now, if there's anything that I would love to watch again, Paul, it's the race from last season here at Motegi with Alex Neller holding off the Williams BMWs, and Alex Neller certainly knows how to defend around here. So
yeah,
right now, holding off a fast BMW, that's his specialty here.
Well, the thing is, Kei Kashube can flash his headlights all he wants like he did earlier on, but this is a battle for position. Yeah. Alex does not have to move out the way. He may be just that a little bit slower. Oh, Lamborghini got a little bit loose, and in fact, he's just going to move over to the side and say, do you know what, Kei? My fight's not with you. And that means that Kashube moves forward. It does mean Jack Sedgwick now is going to be behind. And here we are, hanging onto the door handle of this Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo into the S's now.
Looks like Neller's got damage on the back of that car as well, to be fair, so it might not be handling as well as he wants.
Oh, Bradley Hulse is dropping down the order. Something's happened to the young Yorkshireman, man from Barnsley, and yep, down to 15th for him, so he's lost a couple of positions there. He got tangled up with this immortal car, and he has to take to the grass, but kept it going the right way.
Yeah, that was Paul Webster, I think, to be fair, because Paul's now 10th, and I think Bradley's car had 10 on the windscreen. So a real shame for Bradley there to lose that position like that, but I'm sure he'd rather that than completely spin around and be sat waiting for the entire field to come on through. But he's got one of the quickest guys in the series right behind him right now with 11 podiums, Kei Kashube. Here's what happened on the opening lap into the hairpin, and it's just a bit of a loss of control by the Sentry car. Catches Lars van Rijn, and then it all kicks off behind him. Everybody checks up from here back. Now there is Matt Bunn going around. He gets collected by a Luxim car. Everybody goes one way, then the other, and there's damage to one of the Luxim cars. So the Lamborghini ends up going left, then right. Everyone tries to avoid, and yeah, you see, I think it was Phil Dennis going in the back of somebody there.
Yeah.
That was an absolute nightmare, wasn't it? And it's not the biggest. Oh, I reckon he thought he was clear there. It's not the biggest pileup we've seen, but it just kept on going, didn't it? It
was a concertina effect, wasn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what happened there as the 3M car just rolls back onto track there at the end of that shot. 10 minutes remaining, so half the race to go here. And we've got an intense battle for the lead right now. John Roberts, who can be quite an astute defender, as there's Kei Kashube boating his way past the Barnsley resident Bradley Hulse up into 15th, but you've got Adam Watson now battling away with Chris van der Ness. They're behind Chris Byram as well, and they've got John Roberts, who's just pulled away a little bit actually. With these three battling, that's allowing John to pull away, and this is what he needs. He needs these three to battle like there's no tomorrow. But Adam Watson, look at him to the inside. He's not going to get the run out of the corner though.
No, it was nice stuff though. He was on the outside for turn 9, managed to convert that to the inside for turn 10, make it from a defensive move to an offensive move much later on the brakes down the hill. And I tell you what, the number 32 machine of Chris van der Ness says, all right mate, I'll go with you. And now suddenly Byram finds himself in 4th place, just under half the race to go now. And I think John Roberts will be looking at that relative thinking, oh no, because you picked Adam Watson earlier, Paul, and to be honest, I think you might be right at this moment in time, because Pete Harrod is the next pro driver back, and he's down in 11th place. And I mean, I know it's not all down to how they are in terms of their class, doesn't necessarily mean they are quicker than each other, but usually the guys in the series get it very, very right.
Well, Kei Kashube, that we're on board with right now, is behind JB Masida, up 33 positions in this race. He's the biggest mover in this race so far. Masida is up 21 places, but Ashley Finch is up 24 as well. So we've got some big moves forward. Kashube clipping the grass, but you see that. We saw Nick Salaputis earlier. He clipped the grass, went around at turn 3. Kashube was able to grab that car and keep it going straight.
These guys are so good at driving these things on the limit, though. It's why they're so fast. You know, they have these cars set up to be at the absolute limit of their performance, which means they are very, very lively creatures, very lively zebras. It's like they've got a cattle prod up the backside. They really are. But he knows exactly what he needs to do with this, corner by corner, how it's going to behave when it's on the brakes, when he's coming off the brakes, when he's going on the throttle, when he's coming off the throttle. They've done everything. They know every eventuality in their head. It's almost robotic driving for drivers like this. There's a car off on the outside. That is Tony Draper that has gone off and is now dropping positions. Well, let's see what happened to him. Oh, he's been barged out of the way there.
Morgan Butler, that was, who assisted him off the track. There's a move to the inside. Finch and Masida battling positions, and that's going to open the door for Kei Kashube to say thank you very much. Oh, and Jack Sedgwick is following through now as well, so he's trying to move forward with these other competitors as well. In fact, you could see Jack Sedgwick was 17th at the start of this lap, currently 15th, and trying to move forward here. He's around the outside. Oh my goodness, Masida, well, he's not giving that one up. Is JB and finds himself there. Now, we need to look forward to the lead because there is a battle for the lead right now. John Roberts and Adam Watson, they're battling it out now. Watson, former Paceworks esports driver, finds himself at Team Mad now to the inside of 3. John Roberts gives a wide berth in that BMW. Well, Watson stuck the car on the inside, forced Roberts to compromise his line, and that's allowed him through.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried there. You mentioned earlier that John can be a real hard defender. I was worried that John was going to overdo it. Oh, he has been wiped out now. I was going to say I was worried that John would close the line off and defend a little bit too hard and it wouldn't help him out, but not sure who the contact was on between him and Chris van der Nest, but we're going to find out.
Van der Nest has got the nose in there. John turns in. Well, that's one for the stewards to look at, I think, afterwards.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Van der Nest was going deep or not there, but yeah, that we'll leave that up to them because I've delved way too much into incidents and telling everyone who's wrong and who's right. I'm not good enough at it. Anyway, we look now at the very, very colourful machine of Craig Jones.
Oh, Craig Jones, sorry, yeah. The sole SCCR Sim Sports driver. Came into the series partway through this season. Great to have him on the grid. And he's got an angry Morgan Butler behind him.
He's been in some very colourful cars before, actually. Craig Jones used to drive a bright purple and red Audi R8, then I believe it was a bright purple. Oh no.
This is actually Jack Sedgwick, Kei Kashube. You've also got JB Masida. You've got Ross McFarlane involved in this, Ashley Finch. There's Alex Neller there as well. And somehow they all make it through turn 11 into 12. That's incredible, really, because it wasn't looking like that would be the case.
No, that was really good awareness from all of them there. Oh, I think slightly sideways there was Alex Neller. The back end of that car really not behaving with the damage. It just poked its backside out. Tony Draper's trying to come down the inside of Bradley Hulse. Now these guys are 3 wide. Neller's on the outside. Hulse is in the middle. Neller tries to carry the pace. Hulse does the right thing there and backs off a little bit. Draper's still there, though. Neller's around the outside. They give each other just enough room. Great awareness, like I said. Now, Neller's great on the brakes down here. Is he going to go later than Draper? No, they break about the same point.
Dropping down.
Oh, Paul Webster.
And
there he is.
Is that Hedgecock as well has dropped down the order? That's something that's happened down at turn 3.
It did look like there was a few more sort of marks on the outside where the grass had been kicked up, so I'm wondering whether one of them's just pushed the other wide and they both sort of collected one another, but nice stuff by Neller there. Here's what happened, Paul.
Yeah, so this is Webster. Oh, Paul. Oh, Paul. The stream chat will be watching him. He does stream on Twitch, and they'll be delivering a guilty verdict, I think, in that one, because that was a bit late. Was that breaking? Oh. That's Michael Blake.
Well, now, where was Michael? I think he was quite far down at the start of this, because he was involved earlier, wasn't he? Now, he's another one with no luck.
He's a lap down, is Michael, down in 44th. He's trying to keep out of everybody's way because it's almost impossible to return back to the track here. Jack Sedgwick now under pressure by Chris Wood. Side by side, Ferrari versus Porsche. Kei Kashube was trying to give the slipstream to Chris Wood down that straight, but it wasn't quite working out for him.
No, it was very very clear what his intentions were there, wasn't it, from Kei Kashube, but Sedgwick, the very, very fast racer that he is, manages to get the better of Chris Wood. Chris just thinking, I'm not going to bother fighting that at this point in time. I've got my teammate behind me, and we're just going to try and work together to go forward. In terms of the Pro-Am and AMs, by the way, Chris van der Nest leads Pro-Am. Morgan Butler second in that class, 4th overall. Brendan Stacey 3rd in class, 6th overall. Chris Byram is the highest placed AM driver. Craig Jones is 2nd in the class, 5th overall. And John Roberts, while he was in the lead earlier and he got knocked off, he's still 8th overall, 3rd in the AMs.
Paul Webster's had another issue and he's dropped down further down the order. He always says that he doesn't want us to talk about him, and this is a unique view of the Cones getting knocked out the way. Those Cones had 1 day before retirement, and that's how people treat them. But 2 minutes and a half remaining in this race. The Team Mad drivers, well, they feel it appropriate to fight amongst themselves, really, as they duke it out for the positions just outside of the top 10. That's 11th and 12th place. Ross McFarlane to the inside of Ashley Finch. I think Finch facilitated that move a little bit there as well.
Yeah, for sure. Never mind JB Masida, though, as JB must send it down the inside of Chris Wood. He absolutely launched that one. Chris wasn't going to take that one. Oh, and he's taken that one very sideways on the exit of turn 9. It was car 37 and car 87. Not easy to identify apart, other than the bright green and the bright red. McFarlane goes down the inside. Finch goes down the inside as well. It's not quite going to work for Ash there because he compromises his line, but reigning champion Ross McFarlane still making his way up the order. Started this lap, as you see there, 14th. He's now up to 12th position with Team Mad cars either side. The sandwich he's probably been in at some point before, all of the series that these guys do together. But that Lamborghini looking good at the moment for Ross McFarlane, but he's just not been able to sort of rise head and shoulders above the rest like he did last season, has he?
Morgan Butler on the right-hand side of your screen, battle for 3rd place with Chris Byram. This is the start of the last lap, by the way. This race has flown by here in the second one, and the first race flew by as well. Byram's going very defensive here. Butler's going to have to go around the outside if he does that at turn number 3 and 4. Cut back on the inside, nicely set up there, and Byram, there's very little that you can do about that except to try and fight off the car of Craig Jones now trying to make the move to the outside of turn number 5. Can he get the cut back in his Mercedes? All we know is that Morgan Butler has managed to move himself into a podium position. Craig Jones we're on board with right now. He's putting the pressure on Chris Byram, and this is for the AM victory right here.
It is, yeah. This is important for these two right now. Class victories do not come around very often at all. Chris Byram hasn't got one yet this season. Neither has Craig Jones. Byram only has one class podium to his name. Then again, Craig doesn't have any, so this is going to be a great result for either of them if they can hold on to it. But that was the perfect situation for Morgan Butler. A beautiful cutback, and then straight away his rival was in the clutches of somebody else. Now there's the 27 of Brendan Stacey, trying not to get too involved coming behind them. But down to the bottom of the hill, Paul, it looks like your prediction is about to come true, my friend.
And people say I don't know what I'm talking about half the time. Adam Watson then will be finding himself out towards the end of the lap here. Through victory corner he goes. He's going to see the checkered flag waved by Barney, and he is delighted to the pit wall, wiggle of the wheel. He is your winner here in the second race of the evening. Chris van der Ness, tremendous result for him in second place, and a Pro-Am win ahead of Morgan Butler. And Chris Byram able to hang on to 4th place for an AM victory ahead of Craig Jones in 5th place. Wow, that was a bit more action-packed, that race, as more cars are coming across the line here to finish their races. Keika Shube, a little tip of the hat to him, because he was able to move up to 40 places into 8th position in that race.
That was fantastic, absolutely fantastic from Keika Shube. He might have to do it all again here, but still, I'm sure he won't mind, because he will have really enjoyed that one. It's a great circuit when you can get laps together and overtake people. But Adam Watson, he hasn't even had a podium so far this season, has Adam. And the first time he gets one, he's on the top step. So he'll be absolutely over the moon with that. Chris Byram gets his first AM win of the season. And Chris van der Ness gets his second. He last took one at the Red Bull Ring. So it seems like sprint nights are the nights for Chris van der Ness. But good to see a Porsche on the top step. And a Team Mad one as well. I'm sure Paul is secretly very happy about that, and so am I, to be honest. It's been an amazing effort over the last few years by Team Mad, and these consistent league wins coming in now. And Adam Watson, a fantastic weapon to have in your armoury, isn't he?
I'm completely unbiased when it comes to these commentaries, I'll have you know. But yes, thank you very much to Ash Blakehood in the chat for saying elementary, dear Watson. As now we get to do the reverse grid draw once again. If this lands on full reverse again, then
I'll eat my phone case.
I'll have to put on some lottery tickets, that's for sure. As it slows down, it's not going to be full reverse, we know that. As we get down, it's going to be a small one here, 23rd on the grid. So we'll be able to go through that but I can tell you that Aaron Rose will find himself on pole position for the third and final race of the evening. Yes, we've got one more race to come up here today in this particular broadcast, but it is Adam Watson then able to take advantage of that reverse grid draw to find himself at the front and winning by 3.1 seconds for Team Mad. Chris van der Ness, a Pro-Am win for him for Evo SR. That's some really good points for them. In second place with Morgan Butler third. Chris Byram for Cuda eMotorsports then. An AM win for him. Fourth place, not able to quite keep it on the podium for him, with Craig Jones fifth, Brendan Stacey sixth. Good result for the privateer there. Pete Harrod, Keika Shube, as I say, tip of the hat to him because he finished in 8th, with Jack Sedgwick right behind him in 9th and John Roberts 10th place. In 11th, it is Ross McFarlane, the defending champion. Again, finding some good seams through the crowds. JB Maceda in 12th with Chris Wood, his Team Mad teammate in 13th. Ashley Finch 14th ahead of Alex Nella, with the Century eSIM eSports driver Tony Draper 16th. David Baker 17th ahead of Adam Hedgecock, Jeroen Kaiser and Bradley Hulse in 20th place.
21st went the way of Simon Underhill in the Nomad Sim Racing car. A bit more luck on his side this time. Same too with Ross Nicholson, who finished 22nd for Sim Stickers. Aaron Rose, who will be our pole sitter for the final race of the night, finished 23rd, just ahead of James Whitehouse, Mark Woodhouse and Matthew Turnbull. Paul Webster in the 888 machine managed to end up 27th ahead of Phil Dennis after that earlier incident. Billy Fletcher was 29th and Miguel Freitas rounds out your top 30. Tim Perry was 31st ahead of Simon Field in the boosted Motorsport Mercedes. Alex Davidson, despite having the fast lap early on, couldn't quite make his way through the pack and ended up 33rd. Jason Dilworth was 34th ahead of Lee Berridge and Nicholas Salaputis. He also had an off early on in the race. Ben Gregory was 37th ahead of Max Wolf, with Ryan Hamilton and Mike Horder rounding out the top 40.
Then your final drivers here in the field. Lars van Rijn, Elliot Harper and Michael Evdoka all finished on the lead lap. Michael Evdoka, he'll be absolutely gutted with that result. Michael Blake then, one lap down. He's the last one who scores points in 44th, and then those who did not finish: Toby Ward, Robert Lundgren, Matt Bunn, Joel Evans, Andy Archer and Josh Thompson. He said after about 3 rounds of the championship that his championship was over. I think tonight is pretty much sealing that thought for him today. Well, we've got one more race to go here, Chaz. This is tremendous. This is fantastic.
I've just realised something that I've done. Sorry to go off topic very suddenly, but because I've turned my lights to green in an effort to try and confuse people, what's happened is the green screen has kicked in for Hugo. So there you go. We can turn it blue and I'll go back to normal. But yes, fantastic race there. That was absolutely awesome to watch. I was just doing some notes there and just noting down that is Pete Harrod's first podium of the season as well. Previous champion here in the World GT Championship. He might not be very pleased with the fact that it's taken until now to get a podium, even just in the pro class. I said podium, he finished 7th overall, so it's not even like he was in the top 3 overall, but some really good results there. Chris van der Ness, great class win for him. I think that's his 2nd of the season. Morgan Butler, his 2nd podium. He's also got a win to his name in that class as well. And Byram did a good job to hold on ahead of Jones there. So just again proving the entertainment value we get with these different classes in this championship.
Yeah, I'm just having a look at my timing screen myself here, and we mentioned this with myself and Peter. It was either last round or the round a couple of rounds before that. It's those who can take advantage of those reverse grid draws and get themselves a result that really put themselves into a good championship position when it comes to their own class, because maybe not so much for the pro drivers, although that certainly will have helped Adam after, he'll be honest with himself, saying not the best of seasons. Yeah. But for those in Pro-Am and especially the Am category, it's nights like this where you can really make a championship charge. Yeah, because for anybody that doesn't know, you don't get points per class, you get points for your overall position. So if you're an Am that, in some series, if you're an Am that finishes, say, 3rd overall in a race and the next Am is 20th, you could get, say, 25 points for a win and the next guy will get 20, which really devalues that difference in positions with you being right up there and then being further down. But here, if you finish 4th overall, you get the same points as anyone else that finishes 4th overall. So you get a massive chunk of points. So even if you are, say,
4th overall like Chris Byram, compared to your rivals, I don't know, Bradley Hulse down in 20th place. He has gained an absolute bucket load of points over him in that race. But we've actually seen over these seasons, Paul, that we've been covering this together, that a lot of drivers get the luck of the draw both ways sometimes, don't they? I mean, you'd argue that is a big difference right now between those two drivers I just mentioned, but give it a few race meetings, we'll see it go the other way in one of the reverse grids.
Who was it in Season 8, driver, who got put onto pole position twice at Silverstone?
Chris Byram.
Chris Byram,
I noted his name down before, and I could see the BMW in my head. It was at Silverstone, start of Season 8. Yes, it was. It was fantastic,
And both races got put on pole position. One race wasn't able to quite take advantage of it as like he did the other.
Yeah.
But that, as you say, it's that luck of the draw and how you place yourself in one of these races. If you're a pro driver and you're having a bad night and find yourself down in like the 20s, most of the time we get a draw in the 20s or 30s, so you're going to end up near the front in one of those races, so it can turn around for you.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, for some of these AM drivers, they have to be realistic about it. And we've seen some of the AM drivers before that aren't realistic about the situation. You know, they will battle for the lead against one of the pros that comes through. I mean, people like we get with Dennis and of course Kei Kashube. These drivers are some of the very best in the world. Not just in this series, but they are some of the best in the world. You know, the likes of Josh Thompson as well. If you're an AM driver that isn't that quick in comparison, there's no point battling them. You know, you may as well look at it as I'm 3rd, 5th, 7th, wherever. Normally I qualify outside the top 20. It's risk versus reward. Let the pro guy through, let him do his thing and get his usual points that he gets. Settle for 50, 40 points where you would normally get 5 to 10, you know, because that is 4 races worth of points over whatever your rivals get, which might not be as much. You need to really be so careful when you're these AM drivers. And realistically, I think sometimes they've got the hardest look out of all of them, because no matter where they are in these reverse grids, they've got quicker drivers around them, and it takes a lot of composure to be able to let people through and look at a situation like that realistically.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of Phil Dennis, we were looking at this beforehand at his CV. You know, International GT Open, GTM raced a couple of times, got on a podium. Once in that. The 2018 24-hour GT Series, the European Championship, was a guest driver. Guess what? He got a win in class in that, in the Porsche 991 Cup car, sorry, should I say. He's raced in the Indy Pro 2000 as well. He's somebody who is well versed in the world of motorsport. He's got the ability, has Phil. In the sim racing though, in this World GT Championship, in the reverse grid races, in 1 or 2 of them this season, he's been getting caught up in a few incidents, and I think that's maybe an area that he himself will identify and think, I need to improve on that.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, we often see real drivers come into this and they react either to the sim one way or another. They either carry the talent over that they have, and it's easy to see. I mean, we saw it in the Petit Le Mans on the weekend. You know, Max Verstappen, Shane Van Gisbergen, and people like that. They are so talented, but they can translate it into the sim as well. Some of them don't like the fact you don't get the feeling in your backside. They don't quite know how to tone it in their heads, and it's interesting to watch. But at the same time, they always race with people of a similar caliber, so they're all going to be braking millimeters apart from each other, and the differences between where they brake is millimeters as well. So when you put them in a field of drivers that haven't done it for real, and you know, they don't have the experience, they're nowhere near as quick in the sim, they find it hard to go through a pack even if they are being careful. And I think that is, unfortunately for Phil, because he's great to watch, unfortunately that is the thorn in his side at the moment.
You speak of Shane Van Gisbergen, and I once got punted off by him in a Bathurst 12 hours race.
I think everybody has, haven't they?
So, yeah. I think he's one of those that forgets that other drivers maybe aren't at the same level as him.
Yeah,
Love you, Shane. You can see the countdown clock up above my head here. We are counting down towards the start of the 3rd race of the evening here today. Kei Kashube came through to 8th place in that race. He's got it all to do again now because of that reverse grid draw. Okay, it's not as big a reverse grid, but he's now got people like Jack Sedgwick, Ross McFarlane in front of him as well.
Yeah, this is going to be tough for Kei Kashube. it's tough to guess who'd do well here. I think Aaron Rose has the ability to hold on near the front, and again, it just comes back to picking his battles. He's got to have a really level head on him right now. Not seen too much of Aaron racing, but from the practice and the qualifying that we've seen before and previous broadcasts that I've watched back, you know, he seems to be able to get composure when he needs it. Just needs to stay composed, because it's easy to just sort of quickly step out of your comfort zone and then not be able to get back into a rhythm. David Baker's a driver we've not seen much of tonight. I noticed he was in the results, but we haven't actually seen him on screen all night, poor Dave. But yeah, I think he might be in the middle of that one as well. So look forward to him making some places. Just looking down the list now, to be fair, they're not actually in grid order anymore because they're doing a bit of warm-up. So that makes it a bit more difficult. But it's certainly going to be an intriguing one. Sometimes the gloves really do come off for this last race of the night, so you can expect the odd few more incidents, because not only have we jumbled the grid up from race 1, but when we've had incidents and all sorts going on in race 2, we've then jumbled it up again from that. So this is really just sort of what's left at the end of the night, really. We just chuck them on a track and say, go on then. But this is usually the most entertaining race of a sprint race evening, and I'm pretty sure that theme is going to continue.
Now, I've noticed so far that Josh Thompson hasn't made an appearance. Now, I wouldn't blame him, to be honest. He's not had a good couple of first 2 races here. He's got a lot on at the moment because he's got to spend a lot of time practicing for the Porsche Contender Series that he's competing in this series, to try and get himself re-qualified for the Porsche Tagore Esports Super Cup. When you've got so much on like that, it's knowing what to prioritise. And unfortunately for this series, if I was Josh, I wouldn't be prioritising this series. I'd be prioritising the Contender Series. Yeah, it's a shame for the series like that, because, you know, Josh is a fantastic character to have around in the championship. He's a very, very fast driver, great name in sim racing, but yeah, realistically, you know, if he is having a frustrating evening, it's completely understandable if he just goes, you know what, I really need to just make sure I don't get frustrated. I need to stay in a positive mindset because I've got, you know, the most important series on iRacing, you could argue, right now to try and get back into. So, yeah, fair play to him, but it's a shame if we don't see him back out for this one. Either way, we've got a few more cars to choose from, I think we could say, Paul, because it's certainly still a big grid in this championship, and that's one of the things that we've seen over the last few seasons. The retention and the size of the grids has been phenomenal. I mean, this series has always done a great job anyway. The guys behind the scenes have always made it a very, very attractive series to be in. Just continues to go from strength to strength again. Absolutely. Well, it is going to be the final race of the evening here from Twin Ring Motegi here in the World GT Championship by 3M. My name's Paul Smith, Chaz Draycott alongside me, Hugo Luis behind the scenes on production, and we will, in just a few seconds' time, be able to give you your starting grid, and for these admins to give me a hard time in getting through the grid here. So good luck to me. So I can tell you that on pole position here for this finale, it's not Ryan Hamilton, it's Aaron Rose. There we go. It caught up with it now. Ross Nicholson joining them on the front row with Simon Underhill, Bradley Hulse, Jeroen Kaiser and Adam Hedgecock. David Baker with Tony Draper alongside him, Alex Nailla and Ashley Finch from row number 5. Row 6 for Chris Wood and JB Masida. Row 7 for Ross McFarlane and John Roberts. Row 8 for Jack Sedgwick and Kate Shubey. Row 9 for Pete Harrod and Brendan Stacey. Row 20 for Craig Jones and Chris Byram. Morgan Butler and row 20, row 10 even. Morgan Butler and Chris Van Der Ness on row 11 with Adam Watson and James Whitehouse on row number 12. Row 13 is Mark Woodhouse and Matthew Turnbull with Paul Webster and Phil Dennis then down in 28th. 29th and 30th, Billy Fletcher and Miguel Freitas. Tim Perry and Simon Field then row 16 ahead of Alexander Davidson and Jason Dilworth, Lee Berridge and Nicholas Salaputis on the next row of the grid, with Ben Gregory and Max Wolf, Ryan Hamilton and Mike Horder on row number 20, Lars Van Ryn, Elliot Harper, row 21. Row 22 for Michael Evdoker and Michael Blake, with Toby Ward, Robert Lundgren, Matt Bone and Andy Archer is the last car on the grid. So we are missing 2 cars from this final race of the evening. Well, let's get ready, let's get set and see what the outcome of this race will be. Aaron Rose is going to be leading them off. Now, is he going to be jumping as early as John Roberts did at the start of that previous race? Or Is he going to wait patiently like we saw Kekshube and Phil Dennis do in race number 1? The final race of the evening in the World GT Championship is underway here. The green flag will be waved by Barney the flagman. We've got 20 minutes of racing to go here today. Down towards turn number 1 they go once again, and they will fan themselves out 2, 3 wide through turns 1 and 2. So far, so good for those drivers out there today. 1 and 2 cars just making it out into the grass. Turns 3 and 4 then, and Nicholson's around. He's managed to gather it up pretty well there. To be honest, there's a Mercedes fired off. That's Tony Draper off into the gravel track right in the back of the field there. There he is. There's another car off in the grass on the exit of turn number 4. We've got more cars going off on the exit of turn number 4. If they keep it out of the way, or even more coming together there in the mid-pack.
Yeah,
but we're staying green, and now that's one of the Three Spires Motorsports cars. I think that's going to be Toby Ward, I do believe, who's not Toby Ward. That would be Tim, who's had the issue. No, in fact, I am right. But anyway, whoever it was one of the Three Spires cars in the BMW, and he's around.
Yeah, there was a Team Mad Porsche was spat off to the left-hand side, bounced across the barrier, and then came back again. There's a few frustrated drivers flashing their headlights here and wiggling around as if to say, you're moving around a lot in front of me, or sort of choose a direction to go in. That's the international signal for that, and could tell you that for free. But it fired at me plenty of times. But yeah, a bit of a mess there for some of them. I was going to say, starting second and third in this field, 2 of the unluckiest people in sim racing that we've ever seen, Simon Underhill and Ross Nicholson. Ross now being overtaken down the inside by Ashley Finch. There's the wonderful diverse noise and sounds and looks of these cars making their way through turn 11. What's called a 90-degree right, even though it's more than 90 degrees down there. Out the final corner they go, some of them taking to the grass, but not too bad a start, really. There's a number of cars that have dropped off. Tim Perry and Miguel Freitas. We also have Tony Draper, Salaputis, Berridge and Van der Ness that have lost a lot of positions in the opening exchange there. Brendan Stacey, one of them, I think he's just coming into the pits, actually. We hear the siren there. But up at the front, Aaron Rose holding on to it at the moment with nearly a 3-second lead. Quick update on the 2 cars missing on top of Josh Thompson were Matt Bunn and Matt Turnbull. So if you name Matt's not a good night. They both chose the wrong type of Evo. Bunny went for a Lamborghini and Turnbull went for a Fez. GG, boys.
As Kekshube is moving past John Roberts. You see him just in the back of the shop there, and that's up to 11th place for Kay. Meanwhile, Ross McFarlane and Jack Sedgwick are fighting it out for 9th and 10th places, and now they've got to worry about Kay running up behind them. This is a really, really good night so far for Kay Kekshube as he's moving his way through. Speaking of moving the way through, Ashley Finch and Simon Nella side by side through the S's, and that's going to allow Sedgwick to now have a look to the inside, to the outside, should I say, of Alex Nella. Takes to the grass, able to hang on to it. Ashley Finch as well dropping down out of all that, and to the inside of the hairpin now. Sedgwick. Ross McFarlane's trying to get the run out of the corner. Nella gets squeezed but keeps his foot in it. And well, here comes McFarlane. He's trying to get the run on Jack Sedgwick in front of him, but that Ferrari's got some good legs.
Yeah, it's the older Ferrari used to be very, very quick in a straight line as well. And to be fair, Nella does a great job to hold that position. But McFarlane, you know, part of me thought, yeah, he's going to be sensible here and he's going to back out of that rather than go for a move. But he can't do that too much because having Kei Kashube right behind you, one of the worst scenarios for him right now. Kei Kashube has 12 podiums to his name this season. There's Jim Whitehouse having a nightmare at the bottom of the hill. Let's see what happened there. He's had it down the inside from Morgan Butler. Goes
Mark
into
Woodhouse.
the side of him. Yeah, Mark gets caught out by that as well, I'm afraid. So a big mess for those guys. They've all got going again and unfortunately together. Now there's Hulse down the inside of the number 76 machine. That's your own Kaiser. I can spot that certain shade of green from a mile off.
Yeah.
Been racing against that for many years, to be fair. Now Dave Baker's right behind these guys, so his usual P6 isn't good enough for him tonight, and he's up to 5th place. Kaiser goes back down the inside of Dave to hold that position off. Doesn't quite close the door on him though. Dave's going to hang it around the outside now. That could potentially become the inside as he goes up the hill towards turn 7. Is he a bit later on the brakes? We know how smooth a driver Dave is, and he's got that done. Dr. Baker goes through, smashing stuff by him. but Rose still leads this race, and he has a great gap at the moment, doesn't he, Paul? 4.6 seconds. Oh, it's getting feisty there. Nearly contact, but just about surviving.
Yeah, your own Kaiser's trying to hang on to that position, but he's got Jack Sedgwick behind him, and he's got those other drivers trying to come through here. And to the inside goes Jack Sedgwick, and Kaiser's thinking, you know what? That's not my fight. I'm going to let you fight that one out. We've got 2 wide in the middle of that pack, and it is Kashube. McFarlane moving across on Kashube a little bit there. That was a little bit cheeky from Ross. You got Alex Nella trying to dive down the inside of Ross Nicholson. Down through there they go, and Ross McFarlane has had to go behind Kashube.
Yeah, he just knew he had to filter in there, otherwise it could have got a bit messy if neither of them wanted to concede. But yeah, Nella and Nicholson there, I held my breath for a second and made some questionable noises because he looked down the inside a little bit late as Nicholson wanted to make a move on Kaiser. It was almost a very big accordion and domino effect at the same time. But look at this train of cars here. This is phenomenal stuff again from the World GT Championship. Every single one of these drivers, well, even in the background they're 2x2, but even a single mistake from any one of these drivers could gift somebody maybe 2, even 3 places. Here's that battle that we just saw in the background. That is Paul Webster down the inside of, is that Billy Fletcher in the 388 machine? It is. Michael Avdoka in there as well. God, these boys love triple digits. I can't stand it. They're all having a go. Never mind triple digits. It's triple car. Oh, there was nearly contact there. I don't know what he's flashing his lights for. He's the one that moved over.
Well, Avdoka's flashing his lights. He's not happy. You've got Webster and Fletcher still side by side as they go through this right-hander at turn number 6. Get on the grass there. That's Craig Jones. And, well, Brian Hamilton says, thank you very much. I'll take that spot, thank you. So that's moved him up a position, the amateur driver, up to 23rd. Webster and Avdoka now fighting it out. And if Webster's not careful, he can be hung out to dry here. Keep it on the outside, that turns into the inside for the next corner, and Avdoka's not playing nice there. He's squeezing Webster to the inside. Webster holds that inside line in the Porsche. It's not the easiest of cars to drive, is that Porsche? No. Well, and yep, there's a couple of cars off. There's another one going off as well. I know that Ben Gregory was involved in that. Chris Byron was involved as well in all that shenanigans down at the hairpin. And they're back up and running down towards the right-hander here at the bottom of the hill. Tricky braking down there because it is such a steep hill. And here's a look at what happened. So it happened in front and nowhere to go. Oh, well, I'll take the gravel trap.
Michael Blake just shoveling Ben Gregory out of the way there. And that Mercedes as well that went around. I didn't quite catch which number that was. I think it was.
Finch is dropping down the order on the timing screen. So something's happened to Ashley Finch out there. And we'll get to see it on the replay here. He's got Phil Dennis behind him. So Dennis is making a heck of a move forward if that is him.
Yeah, it is as well.
Yeah, and just caught him in the braking zone as he's moving to the inside. And around he goes.
That was a big, big old hit. We've seen a bit of that as well recently. Oh no, that's Ross Nicholson. He's had really bad luck every time I've been watching him. This is what happened to Ross.
Is this on his own? Oh no, he's helped. And that's Kashube. And then gets his afters for that as well.
Yeah, Kashube maybe just driving in his mirrors a little bit. He had a lot of very, very quick drivers behind him in the likes of Ross McFarlane, Phil Dennis, Pete Harrod. And unfortunately, it's not worked out. And now the other unlucky driver, Simon Underhill, has had a moment. Now he must have lost that through the right-hander there, Paul. Yeah. We saw it earlier, didn't we?
Yeah, he's found the other bit of tyre wall there on the inside. So well done, Simon, for doing that. On the exit, touches the grass.
Oh, sorry, I thought that was on the exit of turn 6, not 7 and 8. Wow, I thought it was down the bottom of the hill.
Yeah, so Underhill got damaged. Now, it's not as bad as if he'd have hit the Armco, so that's good. He hit the tyres, so that'll help him a little bit. Not that that'll be much comfort, as we've got dives behind there. That's Craig Jones and Mike Horder. Horder's trying to move forward in all this. Simon Underhill takes to the pit lane. More carnage and chaos. Around they go.
Oh, that was just a bit of lack of awareness there, to be honest. Hamilton turned in. I think the Mercedes on his inside, though, went a little bit deep. Let's have a look again. Oh, it was Hedgecock. Hamilton thought he was clear of him. And then The Lamborghini tries to move out of the way of the Mercedes just ahead. I think, was that Craig Jones?
Yes.
In that car. And more mayhem as well. That's Chris Wood getting involved with Alex Davidson. Millions of cars filtering their way through. I think Adam Watson's just gone off, so that's a stark contrast to his previous race. Flipping heck, it's all going on.
That's a bit ambitious there, Alex.
I think he just thought they were closer to the corner there. He's gone to dive down the inside, and he's absolutely overdone that one, I'm afraid. Kashibe's in the thick of it, isn't he?
If he thinks that they were close to the corner, then he was never making the corner in that case.
Very true.
As he parks over to the side of the road, I think he was trying to give the... Oh no, he's taking a tour back to the pit, says Alex. So, after that spate of replays, Hugo's earning his money tonight, that's for sure. We're back to live pictures here. Your leader is Aaron Rose by, get this, 8.5 seconds ahead of Jack Sedgwick, who's moved amazingly up into second place in all of this. Brad Hulse, look at him, the young man from Barnsley, the top AM driver, in third place ahead of your top Pro-Am driver, which is your own Kaiser, who's in fourth place. David Baker's battling behind. You've got Phil Dennis looking very, very busy there in his BMW, and if he makes that stick, that's a very, very nice move there on Alex Neller.
Oh, have a day off, Phil. Flipping heck. That was unbelievable. Carried so much speed around the outside there. You don't do that easily to Alex Neller either. That was fantastic stuff by Phil Dennis. Now, Kaiser going this way, then the other, trying to look down the inside, then the outside of Bradley Hulse. Dave Baker's going to say thank you very much to that one. Has to get out of it a little bit there, does Dave. And does that mean that the guys behind can come through? Because Phil Dennis has got a mighty, mighty run in the big old Zebra. He certainly got into a gallop. And look at that, before he even gets to the next corner at turn 3. That number 98 car has gone through. I wouldn't count out Phil Dennis for winning this race, you know, because he's absolutely on fire now. I think Sedgwick probably the only realistic target.
No, it's too much of a gap. I mean, Sedgwick isn't really reeling in Aaron Rose. If Aaron Rose was an AM driver and he was about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds off in pace-wise, then yes, I would say that. But Aaron Rose, he's got himself to the front, got himself a big gap, and that's just pulled himself forward. There's Dennis to the inside of Kaiser, so Jeroen drops down a position there, and now Brad Hulse has got a driver who has qualified for various championships in sim racing. He's tried qualifying for Pro Series and World Championships as well, in Phil Dennis behind, so no pressure here, Brad. And down into the hairpin, Dennis looks, Brad gives him the space, and you know what Brad said? It wasn't the cleanest of runs through the hairpin for Hulse, and that allows Dennis back through.
Now Baker has got Neller trying to go around the outside of him. He made a good old move of it as Alex on the way through the hairpin. He's a little bit later on the brakes here than the Doctor, but David holds it to the inside. They stay side by side as they go under the bridge through turn 12, and he filters back in front. Good awareness there from David, I think, to not fight that one too hard. Now, all of a sudden, Neller, because of how close this train is, finds himself right on the back of your own Kaiser. Now, Phil Dennis up to third, then Sedgwick still second, and then, as you said, Paul, Rose still leading this race. He's side by side in front. Kaiser down the inside of Hulse. Great on board there from McFarlane, just showing how busy all of this is. Now Neller's down the inside of Hulse, and this is again just prime example of when you're in a train like this, you can attack somebody, and then suddenly, if it doesn't go quite right the first time, you've got to start defending. Oh, big check up there. Oh, someone's going to get fired off here if this doesn't go too well.
Well, Alex Neller is one of the last of the late breakers, that's for sure. He knows how to get that car on its nose, and Baker to the inside of Hulse, and Hulse is getting freight trained here. He won't like it, but to be honest, he'll want just a little bit of relief and a bit of clear air, because he is still
your top.
Oh no, he's just dropped back to the back of this queue. He's all right. He's fine. He is your top AM driver as Hulse, don't forget, in now 11th place. Your next best AM driver is John Roberts in 14th.
This is Billy Fletcher, who's got the fastest lap of the race so far in his Lux Sim 24 Esports Lamborghini. Second in the Pro-Am class currently to your own Kaiser, who we were looking at a moment ago. I thought something had gone wrong for Bradley Hulse, because he did seem to be going very slowly. I think he's just not fighting this, like you say, too hard with those guys around him. These guys are certainly fighting hard. Alex Neller having a go at your own Kaiser now. Just behind them, Dave Baker and reigning champion Ross McFarlane. very close between Kaiser and Nella. And Nella gets through in that Lamborghini. Fantastic progress from Alex Nella so far. He's really shown why he's a pro this season and coming up from being a pro-am in previous championships gone by. Evdoka up 28 places, as you see there on the left-hand side. Fletcher, who on board with, what a race he's having. 19 places gained for Billy. He's turned it up in that Lambo tonight. Short.
Phil Dennis as well, up 24 positions as well. As there goes Keiko Shube to the inside. Whoa. Thank you very much. That's the position gain for that rather large BMW as they go down towards turn number 3 and 4. So yeah, it's been a hectic race here. We've had incidents in this one. I could tell you that retirements, Robert Lundgren, Alex Davidson, Ross Nicholson, Miguel Freitas, Matt Turnbull, Elliot Harper, Matt Bunn and Andy Archer all did not take the start of this race either. So 4 drivers didn't even take the start of this one.
Wow. So it's been a bit of an attritional evening when you look at it this way. This was the start then. So let's see where this kicks off. So the Porsche, yeah, the Porsche runs wide, gets caught. That's one of the Evo SR cars. There's a big check up behind the Nomad Porsche, and then the Team Mad cars come straight back across into the middle of the road. I didn't quite catch who that was. I think that might have been Woodhouse, actually. And then big damage. One of the BMWs. Oh, that was a scary moment for that Mercedes there, flipping heck. Some big crabbing going on as Baker goes down the inside of Kaiser. A little bit late there. I think David was forced into that by being late on the brakes, but still, he's managed to get down the inside. But again, it was just a bit of an accordion effect. I'm not quite sure which of the Team Mad Porsches that was that kept... Oh, it might have been Freitas, actually.
Yeah,
wasn't
it was Miguel, yes.
Oh, no!
Oh, no, you're on!
Oh, no!
Oh,
Well,
try to give the space there as your own. Gets a wheel on the grass on the edge of the curb, and that's so easily done. Here comes Adam Watson to make a move on his teammate, but it is just so easily done, and as soon as you get half a tyre on the grass, that is your day done. Speaking of day done, Simon Underhill has gone to the pits and he's out. Yeah, I just think he's just too occupied with giving space there as your own.
Yeah, he's going to look back on that one and say, you've done that on your own. But nice styling out of getting back on track, though. I love the drift. But that is a very frustrating moment to have. These cars do move around a little bit on the brakes, and it really bit him in the backside there, didn't it, I'm afraid. But he's carried on, which is the best thing. He's not completely out of the race. He'll just be a little bit gutted that he's dropped down. But Dennis is going well in 3rd place. Fastest lap of the race for him. He's still a number of seconds off the back of Sedgwick, though. I don't think he's going to catch him. Now, Keiko Shube is showing us out of the race and has suddenly dropped down. Is that a disconnection?
Yeah. No, he's out. He's manually disconnected from the server. He is out of this race. It's okay. No. It's day done for him after 2 really good races in race 1 and race 2, getting a podium and then a 8th place in those first 2 races. But yeah, that's it. He is out of the race, and yeah.
Hugo's saying that he was literally following him at that moment and he just disappeared instantly. That's really strange, because in iRacing, for those that don't know, you can't just hit escape and disappear like you can in another sim. You actually have to stop the car at the side of the road, and it has to be stopped, pretty much, unless, yeah, Paul's just corrected me actually, you can just use Alt F4. So whether something has happened that he needs to quickly get off the sim, I don't know if his tea's ready or something, but no, he's just completely disappeared, which is a real shame. Here's 2 guys that are certainly going to be an interesting fight to watch. The hardy John Roberts and Paul Webster, the absolute star of the show for me last time out.
Well, these 2, both amateur drivers, both battling out for 2nd and 3rd place in the AM positions, and they're gaining on Brad Holt as well, who's 1st place in AM. So you've got there, you see him in the front of shot there. 1st, 2nd and 3rd that were on board with John Roberts in your AM category, 11th, 12th and 13th places. So we could see a little bit of a change in the final set. In fact, this could be actually the final lap of the race here. Aaron Rose, so many Roses in this championship. His lead has gone down to 5.7 seconds from 8.5 seconds. So he's been just steady away, putting the laps in, but it's exactly the start to this race that he needed. Got that breakaway from the rest of the field, and it's worked out nicely for him in that Luxim 24 eSports car.
Yeah, it certainly has, and let's not forget as well that the pace that he's been putting in is against the likes of, not Alex Sedgwick, he's a Euro NASCAR driver, Jack Sedgwick and Phil Dennis, you know, some of the very fastest sim racers on iRacing, some of the very best, and, you know, he's not been quicker than them, but he's been matching them to the point where they're not reeling him in that quickly. What a drive this has been, and what a great win this is going to be, not just in class, but outright for Aaron Rose.
Through the final 2 corners, through victory corner, and he will see that checkered flag waved by Barney to say, thank you very much, I've got a win here in the World GT Championship. Round number 9 of the season. Paul Webster and Bradley Hulse. This is the battle for AM win. They're side by side. Hulse is trying to hang it out around the outside. It gives him the inside for the final corner. John Roberts is trying to get the run here out that final corner. Who's it going to be? It's going to be Brad Hulse across the line for the AM victory. And Paul Webster goes from attacking for first to dropping down to third in class. What a tremendous final few corners that was in that class.
Wow, that was amazing stuff there. Bradley Hull somehow holding on to the victory in that one. That's his first class win of the season as well. His third, if I say it right, visit to the podium. That's Paul Webster's 7th podium of the season. And for John Roberts, that is his 2nd time in the top 3. But we've had 4 first-time podium finishes tonight, and they're all in the pro category. Adam Watson taking his first podium with a win. Aaron Rose doing the same thing. Pete Harrod and Alex Davidson also joining up there as well. Fantastic racing throughout, though. That last one was a real belter. The fireworks are in the air, but most of them, so I'd say, Paul, were on the track.
As we saw, a very ambitious move from Jeroen Kaiser, who had to bail out of it, and Michael Blake was the innocent party who got caught up in all of that. But there is your race winner for the final race of the evening. Aaron Rose for Luxim 20 Esports. He's got his teammate alongside him. They're flashing the headlights because Billy Fletcher managed to finish in 8th place. A good night, a good final race of the day for those two. We'll be able to give you your provisional race results here then for the final time, and it is, as I say, Luxim 24 Esports. Aaron Rose, who wins that one 4.7 seconds ahead of the 2 teammates of Jack Sedgwick and Phil Dennis for 3M by Williams in XBS. Alex Neller able to hang on to 4th place ahead of the good Dr. David Baker in 5th, with Ross McFarlane and Pete Harrod 7th place. Your top Pro-Am in all of this race was Billy Fletcher, so a race win, overall race win for Luxim, and a Pro-Am race win for Billy Fletcher. JB Mesida 2nd place in Pro-Am, finishes in 9th, with Michael Ovdoka rounding out the top 10. Bradley Hulse, we saw that tremendous battle to the line then for Year 1 Racing, gets the AM victory ahead of his competitors John Roberts and Paul Webster. So the podium in AM all together there in the results. Chris Wood, Adam Watson, both Team Mad drivers in 14th and 15th places, and Max Wolf is the 3rd placed Pro-Am driver in 16th place. Ashley Finch 17th ahead of Ryan Hamilton. Tony Draper and Morgan Butler rounds out the top 20.
21st place went the way of Lars van Rijn in the boosted motorsport Mercedes, just ahead of Brendan Stacey and Ben Gregory. Lee Berridge next up in the AM category in his BMW. Craig Jones 25th ahead of Adam Hedgecock, Chris van den Ness, James Whitehouse, Michael Blake and Jeroen Kaiser rounds out your 30. Toby Ward was 31st ahead of Simon Field and Mark Woodhouse, with Mike Horder just behind them. A few seconds back, Chris Byram, with Jason Dilworth falling a bit further back even from him. Nicholas Salaputis was 37th ahead of Tim Perry. Keika Shube 1 lap down in 39th, and Simon Underhill 2 laps down, rounding out your top 40.
The rest of the drivers who did actually take the start: Robert Lundgren, Alex Davidson, Ross Nicholson and Miguel Freitas, and then 4 did not actually take to the start. Matt Turnbull and Matt Bunn, as we discussed, picked the wrong cars. Elliot Harper and Andy Archer also did not start that final race. But what a race win it was, from lights to flag for Aaron Rose. Congratulations to the Luxim 24 Esports driver. And Chaz, I mean, what a way to come back to the season, into the series here. 3 sprint races. We've got a quarter of the season to go. These drivers, they're starting to put it all on the line, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, they are. Yeah, it's been absolutely phenomenal to watch. And that was Billy Fletcher's second Pro-Am win of the night as well. He's had a really, really good evening round here. Like I said before, 4 first-time podium sitters in the Pro category as well. 2 of them doing it the first time with a race win outright as well. It's been really, really entertaining. And to be honest, a number of drivers will come away from this with really high hopes after tonight. It can massively, massively launch you into a championship fight with just one solid night like this. A few of them, though, falling by the wayside. Not sure at all what happened to Kei Kashibe there. He was having a brilliant night before that, I'm afraid. But Phil Dennis now takes advantage of him getting a poor result, and Phil finishes third outright. So that's just how this championship can go one way then the other, because Phil had that incident in race 2, and then he gets a podium outright in the third one. This championship does things to you, doesn't it? It's crazy. It's great to be back, though, even though it's temporary.
World GT giveth, World GT taketh. That's the way things go here in this championship. We have got a couple of drivers waiting to speak to us, so I think what we'll do is speak to the Race 3 and winner first of Bradley Hulse. Bradley will be standing by with my commentary colleague here to the left. It is Chaz Draycott speaking to him now.
Bradley, that was lively to say the least, mate. We saw you dropping off a little bit at the end of that one. We'll just quickly gloss over that first, because I feel, and Paul feels as well, that might have just been a tactical thing to not getting in too many fights. What did you have going through your mind at that point?
Oh, nerves just don't bin it. Then to be fair, that last race it were a case of just pushing and trying not to let any of the guys pass, because as soon as one comes through, they're all coming through.
Yeah.
And so it was just kind of picking off who I can when I can. And I think it were Underhill that had a bit of an incident up ahead, so that's unlucky for him. But them last couple of corners were unbelievable, because tyres, I was pushing a bit too hard, so I started to destroy my tyres a bit. But yeah, near enough perfect final race, and good meeting altogether, really.
Yeah, and a fantastic chance to take your first class win of the season. Obviously, your third podium in the AM category this season. How have you found it in the World GT Championship? Because obviously I was very experienced in it before, so was Paul. You know, we know how mad it can be, but for somebody having their first proper run-in with this, how have you found it so far?
Yeah, to be fair, I coming into round 1 with the, let's call it, not the best results at Phillip Island, so... And then, because I was saying before seeing even beginner, I'm going to be happy if I even get a top 10 or top 5 in class.
Yeah.
But coming into Road Atlanta, that was a massive confidence boost, realising that I had the pace. And then, especially at Hockenheim, leading for the 20 minutes in the second race. But been a massive learning curve to get to the point of where I am now. I've learned tons, and it's probably been the best season league racing I've ever done.
That's always good to hear, and you know the championship is very attractive to a lot of drivers, so it's good to see that you're enjoying it as well, because with a lot of cars on the grid it can be difficult sometimes, because it does get a little bit almost out of hand on track, but it seems like everybody's done a strong job so far to at least rein it in at that point. Now, speaking of reining it in, you really had to hold off 2 of your strongest competitors at the very end there. Just over half a second separated yourself, John Roberts and Paul Webster. How did you find those last couple of corners, and did you even have time to think about what you were doing, or was it just send it?
It was just kind of, well, especially around that final corner when cutting back on Paul, it was just hoping that he left me a bit of room, and then I had enough room to kind of get round outside of him, but it were unbelievably close. And I were also hoping that John didn't get a good enough run out of that final corner to jump me right on line, but all worked out well in the end for me. Lucky Paul dropped behind John, because I think he hit the grass on outside after maybe a bit of contact. I hadn't had a chance to look back at it yet, but it were really good.
Well, it's been great to watch, Bradley, and of course, your first AM class win of the season. Very well done, mate. We look forward to hopefully speaking to you again another time, but as for now, thanks very much for joining us.
Cheers, fellas.
And next up then, to have a quick chat with us, will be another guy that I've, well, actually mentioned him in the broadcast earlier during the interval there. Ben Gregory joins us in the box. Ben, that was, I mean, well, first off, Japanese tarmac, it's always difficult. How did you find your night overall, mate?
A bit of up and down, really. First race went amazingly well. That was some of the best fighting I've had with the Nomad guys and Ross Nicholson. That was a lot of fun. The car felt super planted as well. I could really get the power down where it was needed, which is the best bit. But yeah, then just getting caught up in people's silly mistakes in the next couple of lap races, it just kind of ruined the rest of the evening, really.
Yeah, it's always tough in the sprint races because obviously there's less time to get the job done. People are trying to make the moves early on while the field is all packed up together. But a lot of this track is very one line. It really is a momentum-based circuit, especially in the latter stages. Did you find overtaking difficult, or was it just a case of biding your time a little bit?
It's just a case of biding my time. I was able to, mostly the 2 hairpins at the in just about sector 3ish was the best places to pass. Just set someone up, let them distract them a little bit, maybe pop out and like flash the lights a little bit. Well, not flash them, but show the nose and get them a bit unsettled, and you can usually just if you get a good run, you can get them. But yeah, I feel good pace, and at least I can carry this on forward. It's the main thing, especially with going to Suzuka next.
Yeah, well, that's it. You know, Japanese tarmac to Japanese tarmac, it's always going to be a bit difficult. But you know, there's not long in the championship left to go now. So, are there more class wins in you, do you think, for the end of this season? Because it's certainly been a long old slog to get to this point. It's kind of coming into view now, isn't it? The last couple of rounds.
Yeah, the last few rounds have been a bit of few mares really for me. Like it's really hit me hard points wise, so it's dropped me down a few places. So, but hopefully, and I see Sebring's somewhere I'm actually quite confident with. So fingers crossed I can do something there. Yes, I think it's just going to be mostly helping teammates, and we're hopefully go for more team points because we're quite close, relatively close behind our stable mates and Evo. So we want to try and push for at least a second in teams.
Well, we look forward to seeing how that goes, Ben. Again, a bit of a difficult night, but very well done all the same. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again very soon.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Well, there we go. That was 2 of your drivers involved in all of that, and Chaz, that was it was an exciting end for Brad Hulse in all of that. But we've saw at Hockenheim how things didn't quite work out for him when he had the reverse grid for Brad Hulse. Today, I think he just thought about things and as he said, allowed those other guys to go past, to fight with the people who really mattered in all of that, and it showed off. It showed today.
Yeah, that's for sure. You know, when the biggest risk that you can have in a race like that is the pace difference between 2 people. We saw it early on with some of the drivers in the second race, even Pro-Ams behind AMs. You know, there's not much of a difference on paper between the 2, but just being a little bit later on the brakes can catch them out, and there's not much you can do if the car's not going to stop in time. And Bradley sort of saw that, and he thought, oh, there's a train of them here. You know, I'm not going to bother fighting, because by the time I've defended one, tried to slot back in, another one could try and come through. And he knew exactly what he needed to do there, and he did the right thing. It nearly didn't pay off with the guys having to go at the final corner, but it certainly made for some very entertaining racing. Just over 0.5 of a second between all 3 of them as they cross the line. That's the sort of racing that we love here in the World GT Championship, and the type of racing that we see very often. And to be honest, it's been nice to dip my toes back in the water again and come back up here to the commentary box, because it's been a hell of a night of racing, and I hope the rest of the season treats you just as well.
It certainly has been a hell of a night of racing. Now, we have got 3 more rounds of this championship left to go here. We've got a week off next week from the championship, so in 2 weeks' time we'll be heading just down the road, so to speak, to Suzuka for our final endurance round of the championship. That, of course, means that we get to find out who is the Enduro Cup champion out of all of that. So that's on October the 18th here on RaceSpotTV. Sebring then for our final 2 40-minute feature races. That will be on the 25th of October, and then November the 1st for the final round of the championship around Monza. If you thought this one was crazy tonight, Monza is going to be certainly something else, with 50 cars heading down towards the Rettifilio for the first time. So you will not want to miss those 3 rounds of the championship. But Chaz, final thoughts here. It was a tremendous night of action. We're 3/4 of the way through the season. Can't wait for the final 3 rounds.
Yeah, this is the point of the season now where drivers do start to sort of just add up the points against each other, and they just keep a real eye on those advantages and disadvantages that people have. So There's going to be a lot of careful and cautious driving from here on out, but at the same time, there's going to be people that know there's not long left to get the job done. So it's going to be a very exciting finale to the season. I've been really grateful to be back here on RaceSpotTV, though, so thank you to you and Hugo for having me, and I look forward to seeing how Peter gets on next time round when he's back in his usual seat.
Well, thank you very much, Chaz, for filling in for Peter. And that is all that we're going to have time for here tonight. Thank you once again to Hugo Luis behind the scenes on production. I've been Paul Smith, and thank you all for joining us here for coverage of the World GT Championship brought to you by 3M. Until 2 weeks' time, it's goodbye.